What's good? What's good? What's good, fans? It's week 300 of the Voice of the Fans podcast. Yeah, man, we come a long way, Vince. We've been coming a long way, man. A lot of episodes, a lot to talk about. We're gonna have a lot of guests tonight, just to talk about join you guys to talk sports, man. I want to thank you guys. Give yourselves a round of applause for joining us. Let's give Cleveland a round of applause for dealing with the sweltering heat, guys. You guys heard him. You guys been hearing him complain about the weather all year long. Now it gets over 85 and he's crying and drooling on us, fans. Let's give him a round of applause for suffering through the heat with us and not laying under the refrigerator, the freezer door. How you doing today, Cleveland?
Man, I'm up here on the third floor, but I'm maintaining, Cam. I'm maintaining as best I can. It's hot.
I mean, you could be on the 16th floor, man. So, you know, you got to enjoy life where you are, right?
Very, very true. Very true. There are people that have it far worse than me, I suppose.
Fans, we want to thank you once again. Give yourself a round of applause for being with us. Each and every week we get the show started with a little montage of how we do and what we've been through. So here we go.
Am I speaking to right now?
Cameron.
My name is Cameron.
Cam Buford. Hey, it's Peter Rosenberg. I'm hanging on my man Cameron Buford.
We got some good questions today. I'm a Dolphin fan.
There's always room for improvement. This is a big year for Tua to prove that he's a franchise quarterback.
I'm more a fan of boxing. Boxing is my main sport.
All we want to see every year are the best two mothers getting in the ring and getting on.
Best people to fight the best. Somehow we got away from that because guys are trying to protect their record.
Think about it like this. The promoter pays the fighter. The fighter pays the manager.
Okay.
So the manager works for the fighter, and the fighter works
for the promoter. Okay.
Talk about that loyalty for a moment. I'm standing there to try to make a change. You know, give back to the youth, give back to my community and show them that there is hope that you can make it out. You know, only thing is you just got to be dedicated. You got to keep your head down and stay on this course that you're heading towards.
You know it.
So you are lifting weights currently?
It's not like that.
When he said it's easier to score in the NBA versus Europe, did you agree with him?
To me, it's easy to score all over the world.
Can I finish right now? Do you want me to speak or do you want to conduct the interview and answer for me?
What do you
Which one?
What do you think about the type of
Aaron, like I was saying before.
Aaron, what has the game of baseball taught you?
One of the biggest things is being humble.
Can you give a message to the kids to kind of persevere through the false teachings they may be giving?
Patience.
Okay.
Patience.
As the show Voice of the Fan
Oh my goodness!
continues to
I'm in
evolve,
You were adding some spice to it.
it is strictly banter back and forth between myself and Cameron Buford.
I enjoy all of it.
The real ones know what's going on, right?
Like you said, Pacific Northwest. So, I think it's a big part of my game. And every time I step on the floor, I just want to represent myself.
You play this game and you don't turn to win a championship, then why are you playing for?
I'm happy for the Mariners. I'm happy for the whole
Cam, nobody.
Never mind.
Go watch the tape. Go watch the tape, and then you tell me if it was all about just a system.
You look like a buffoon.
Go do your research. Go do your study.
You played against Michael Jordan, and you said LeBron is the best player in the history of the game? Did you guys hear that?
Oh, this guy.
Hey, come here. It's okay. It's okay.
That's what's good in sports, man. It's the big Snoop Dogg, man.
That's what's good in sport.
Thank you for making our voice your choice.
And really appreciate you listening to the Voice of the Fans podcast. Check it out every single week.
No, we do. Yeah.
What's good? And he came in early. I got my man. I'm gonna be bringing these guys on as I can. I know they're busy, but I got my man Champside. What's good, Champ?
What's up, Cam? How y'all doing, man?
Man, we doing fantastic now that you made time for us, man. How's everything going in your world?
Oh, it's all good, bro. It's all good.
Hey, let the people know where they can find you. Let the people know where they can get the fresh fits, the starter cats, the starter jackets, and everything. Let them know.
Yeah, man. You can find me on YouTube, Champside, Instagram, champ_side, champside.com. Just Google Champside. You find me everywhere.
and he's blowing the competition away with the boxing folks, with the boxing knowledge. I mean, he got all kind of knowledge, but I think he specializes in the boxing knowledge. Ain't that right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say my first love is more like football and basketball. Between those two, I played baseball when I was younger too. But yeah, boxing is just, it's different as far as covering media. It's not as organized as the NBA and the NFL, so it allowed me to, different opportunities that I'm still trying to get, in the NFL and stuff like that. So.
Well, you got contacts, man. If you need some information, man, I can help you where I can. But I sent you some of the stuff, man. But let me know where I can help you out.
Sure.
I don't know that you're gonna spend much time in New Orleans trying to go down and cover the Saints. This actually might not be a bad time to get in with the Saints because ain't nobody else trying to get in down there.
Well, I want to cover the Super Bowl, bro. That's like one of my main goals is to cover the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, let's get started early on that. Early on that.
For sure.
Man, I wasn't expecting you later, but we can start it off with boxing talk.
Man, you said 9 o'clock. That 9 o'clock mean 9 o'clock to me or whatever.
Where you at? Where you at? It's not. Where are you at?
I'm in New Orleans.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. I'm thinking you were still on the West Coast.
Yeah.
I'm thinking you so that you stationed down there?
No, I'm just passing. I'm visiting and stuff like that.
Yeah, no. So I thought you was on the West Coast. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, they had Essence.
Right. So did you cover that or you just go attend?
No, I didn't cover it.
So Buster wasn't cussing you out then, huh?
Oh no, man. That's funny. I saw that.
Hey man, congratulations with all you're doing, all the work that you're doing, man. I know you had Ryan on recently, or did you won on his little live stream, huh?
He had a space. Hold on, I'm sharing this video on my page right now.
Yeah.
He had a Twitter space, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's basically open to the public. And the day before that, he texted me something pretty disrespectful in my DM. So I just figured I would request to speak, and then one thing led to another. I asked him a few questions about his current situation, as far as his positive test for Austrian, and then he immediately, called me.
We don't really want to waste too much time on Ryan, but I appreciate you for getting in there and the way you handle yourself, man. You've always handled yourself as a real stand-up, nice, calm, and composed. Because I might have let Ryan, I might not have been as composed as you,
right.
The way you handle it, and then you responded to old, what it was, Dick Ryder who was on the line there. Actually, just kept butting in every time you was trying to say something. So you handled it very well, man. If you go, where can they find that at? Where can they find that clip?
It's on my page. It's on my YouTube. There was two different instances. One was me, questioning his PED use, and then the other one was when he went on his anti-rant, and then 2 days later he went on the rant that got him in trouble that CNN and all the major outlets picked up. So yeah, I just, like I said, bro, I was just listening in, and I felt like I just did what I thought was right, you know what I'm saying, at the time. So I knew if I went in there emotional that they would try to kick me out, or my message might be diluted. So
my message might be diluted. So good, great point again. Shouts out to Champside for getting it done, getting in there, and getting it crafted. Man, we got to ask you some questions. I'm gonna ask you about your. I haven't seen a release of the Champside P for P recently. I haven't seen the release. Has that changed since the beginning of the
year? Yeah, my pound for pound list I updated. I like to update it once everybody fought. So Bud hadn't fought yet. Okay. Shakur just fought. Tank fought last month. So I'm gonna update it August 4th, the day after Bud Crawford fights Madrimov. That way, almost everyone. I always update it the first day of the year.
Right.
But in this case, I like to do mid-year as well. But with Bud fighting, I figured I'd just wait till he fight and update it. But I still got Bud number one, honestly.
Okay. I mean, that's something that I know all the fans is listening to. And even when you say they aren't, they always got something to say when he drops it, huh? They always got something to say.
Oh yeah. It's usually controversial for sure.
What's up, Charles? Appreciate the support, Charles. Thanks for tuning in. First thing I want to ask you, this may go back, dial it back a little bit, but why do you think Floyd released that sparring tape Devin and Tank Davis, like right before Tank fight. I know they're going through their little beef, but I mean that was number one. It was old. Number two, you would think that Floyd is kind of above them games. Why you think he released it?
Well, they never said that Floyd released the tape. We don't know who really released the tape, honestly. They say that Floyd is the only one that has, huh?
It was in Floyd's gym. I mean, who else?
Yeah, that's true.
Who else got footage of what's going on in his gym?
Yeah, it's true. I don't know, bro. I don't know who released the tape. You know, I think some people do think Floyd released it, but I think it just builds into the fight, man. It's different when you talk about two fighters and there's no video footage of them ever stepping in the ring together. But you know, that first clip that came out, it was highly edited. Tank was getting off in it, in my opinion, but you could tell as someone who edits.
It was a short one, right?
Yeah, the one that was a minute long, but they boxed for like an hour plus, I want to say, or at least. So it was doghouse rules, you know, till you quit, and there was money on the line. So anyway, the real footage, I mean, the full footage came out, I think, right before Tank fought, or right after Tank fought.
About a few days before his fight.
Yeah. So the full footage came out, and it looked like pretty good work. And Devin was a teenager at the time.
Devin was doing his thing.
Sure.
Devin was in there. Devin was in there doing his thing. I mean, he had full control. That was surprising. So I might as well just dive right into this. We touched on Ryan, and we know what Ryan's going through, the drug test, PEDs, whatever. However much he had in the system, it was in the system, right? So it was illegal. Devin actually got took the L off his record. How much do you think that impacted his boxing career, though? Because we know when Miguel Cotto went and fought Margarito, he was one dude. He came out a different dude after that fight. We all know Miguel. It was found out that Margarito cheated, and they went and did it again. But he was a different guy. How much do you think Devin is a different guy, or not so much? What do you think?
I don't know, bro. Honestly, it's hard to say. I know what you're asking me. You know, he took some punishment in that fight, and regardless of what the record says, right, it's the physical punishment he took. He was knocked down, I think, maybe 4 times. You got to give him credit for getting up every time. But as far as, you know, I don't know, bro, because I don't know. It's just hard to say. I think Devin is young. I think he's shown that he has heart. You know, he was willing to go across seas to Australia to fight. You know, I think he's shown he has heart, right? He fought Lomi, he fought Regis. So I think maybe once he rests up a little bit, you know, he'll come back probably with, you know, maybe a great comeback story, right? I think one thing, like in this age, is every time somebody loses, we throw them away. And in a different age, guys lost often, right? And they would just come back and keep fighting, right? So, and some of them would be knocked out, you know what I'm saying? Like, but they would just come back. So I don't think it's over for Devin, but it might be a good comeback story if people are counting him out.
Oh, I'm personally not counting him out. And as you mentioned, him going over the seas to get the belt and then to defend the belt, that was pretty impressive on its own. And he's a young dude. What is he, 26 at the most?
Yeah, 25? Yeah, he's like 25, 26.
So he has years to come back. So I'm definitely not counting him out. And then another good, if he got in the ring and fought somebody, if he fought Teofimo Lopez, if he actually fought Tank Davis and then shined in that performance, obviously now he's back in standards again. So there's opportunity for him. He's not washed by no means. That's not what I'm saying. It was just in that, I mean, everybody who's following boxing, any amount of boxing, remember that whooping that Cotto took against Margarito, and then he just was not that same guy. Now, not saying Ryan didn't do that.
He got it back though, right? Cotto got it back.
He beat Margarito, but he should have beat Margarito anyway. If Margarito wasn't cheating, he would have beat him anyway. Yeah. But he just wasn't the same fighter. Like he wasn't the same attack at all costs fighter that he was before he fought Margarito. Because Margarito just laid back and waited on him and kept catching him with some uppercuts. but then his gloves, it was a whole story. But yeah, I'm not saying he's done. And at that time, did I do that?
I'm still here.
No, at that time, Cotto was older than what Haney is at this moment. So they're a little different in that era. Shakur Stevenson. Cleveland's waiting to get on me about Shakur Stevenson. Because I keep telling him this is the fight that he has to tune in. He has to tune in to watch Shakur. Shakur gave us the hand excuse or the shoulder excuse from 6 months ago. What's your thoughts on Shakur? Does this fighting style not just lead to excitement, or is it legitimately? I mean, I kind of hate the styles make fights reasoning. But is that an actual excuse in this situation?
Yeah, I think the B side. Am I echoing?
No, you're good.
Okay. I think the B side has a lot to do with why he gets criticism, because like when he fought Valdez and Herring, he's still the same fighter, but those guys. You know what I'm saying? When he fights Artem and Yoshino and guys that people don't really know, it adds into that excitement factor, because it's like, okay, we already know you're going to beat this guy, and then everyone expects him to, run over him. I think his style, to me, is something that you have to, appreciate the technique and the skills of boxing to watch. Like, to me,
that's what I've been trying to tell him, Cleveland. You hear this, Cleveland? Say that one more time, Leon.
Well, I'm saying, like, Shakur, for whatever reason, he enjoys not allowing you to hit him. Well, not even say the whatever reason. That's what the art of boxing is, right? Hit and not get hit.
Not get hit. So, he said this years ago, and he just does it every time out.
Yeah. So the Edwin fight, I was highly disappointed. I'm like, bro, somebody do something. They were looking at each other. They were fainting. They're looking at each other, and they were fainting and stuff. I'm like, somebody do something, right? So if you call that fight boring, I agree with you. If you call it like lackluster, I agree with you. But this fight over the weekend, Shakur walked forward the whole fight. He kept going at the guy. He threw what he could. And then when the guy would throw stuff at him, he would get back on defense and he would go back at him. He couldn't stop him for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe it's the punching power. Whatever it is, though, to me, I think he's getting more criticism than necessary, because how many rounds did he really lose? None, right? He didn't really lose any rounds. It was a dominant.
That was a wipeout.
Yeah, it was a dominant fight, but he's not Tank, bro. Like, people are looking at Tank. I mean, Devin was called pillow-fisted. Devin boxed the decisions just like Shakur. Devin's been called boring, right? So I did a post in 2021. I was talking about it earlier today, where I talked about the boring fighters. If you go on my page, I asked Andre Ward this 3 months ago. I said, how does Shakur get rid of the boring label? And he said, you have to fight through it. Floyd went through that. I went through that. Do you remember Lara, Arislandi Lara? He was called boring. Guillermo Rigondeaux was called boring. Demetrius Andrade was called boring. And guess what? They all have a similar style. Hit and not get hit. The more risk you take, possibly, the shorter your career is. And, when they talk about like the Mexican style, bro, the Mexican style doesn't really cater to defense, does it at all? Sure. It pretty much throws defense out the window, but people find it entertaining, right? But what style wins? What Cam, I was talking about this earlier, because we can talk about any sport, right? Why did the NBA get rid of hand checking? Why does the NFL protect the quarterback and really like flag is really ticky-tack in the secondary? They want more points scored, right?
Entertainment, yeah.
And I brought up your Dolphins, honestly. I not that I knew that I would, I wasn't thinking about you when I brought it up, but when you all put up 70 points last year, it was very sexy, right? It was attractive.
Everybody tuned in. Everybody started following. Yeah.
Y'all had one of the most, between Mostert, Tyreek, and Waddle, y'all have one of the most exciting offenses in A-Chain, right? But then also, when you got into the playoffs, it was all over, because defense wins championships. I talked about one more thing. Remember when Lamar Jackson played the Chiefs? And I was talking about this earlier. Remember, in that game, he refused to run. He did not want to run. All he wanted to do is sit in the pocket and listen to his critics and prove them wrong that he could throw in the pocket. When his game is to run, bro, just run. Forget the
Just do your
critics.
thing.
So that's what I'm saying about Shakur, man. Forget these critics, man. Fight your fight. That's how you got here.
Yeah, and I certainly agree with that. But it's a just as fans and in parts of the media, we got to talk about it, and that's the conversation. Cleveland, what you got, man? What you got? Refute that if you can, Cleveland.
No, I got two quick questions for my man, because I understand that we have a profound expert on the subject.
I'm not, bro. I'm not a profound expert
on the show, which I greatly appreciate. But me and Cam go back and forth about two things with regards to boxing. I'm a boxing fan. I grew up in the golden age of boxing, watching when all the greats fought each other, and it was super exciting, and the anticipation was incredible, right? But there was also more marketable names at the time. Like, for example, your list has Bud Crawford at the top, right? But no one wants to fight him, and regardless of all of his accolades, he's not particularly marketable, and he's not a household name per se. So people don't get the same, like, yeah, I want to fight him because I want to get this big payday. They're like, no, I don't want to fight him because I know I can't beat him, and his name does not carry to a point where I can get this major payday. So I feel that's part one of the problem with boxing. Part two, I feel, is just the politics that goes on between Top Rank and PBC over and over again, so that the big fights never get made, and we just sit around, we wait and we wait and we wait. And unless someone does something super spectacular to kind of grab our interest, the boxers are just more worried just getting the 12-round decision and kind of getting out and keeping their record unblemished and kind of stretching out the process. So between those two things, number one, your best fighter not necessarily being overly marketable, and two, it's always this butting of heads between the two factions that kind of control boxing. What is it that you think is the solution to kind of having bigger and better fights more often?
Oh man, I don't know if I can answer that.
Yeah, that's a crazy one.
Yeah, I mean, there's been joint pay-per-views, but it always comes down to the fight has to be so profitable that everybody is happy. Like Mayweather-Pacquiao was a cross-promotional fight, but everybody was happy. Every Top Rank was satisfied. Al Heyman's side was satisfied. Floyd was satisfied. Everybody was satisfied. It was so big that it had to be made. And I don't know if there's many fights like that in boxing where they're so big they have to be made. So now you see, like you mentioned, Bud Crawford. As soon as Bud Crawford left Top Rank and went to PBC, he got the biggest fight of his career with Errol Spence. And it's funny because I think I was on here last time right before that fight happened, wasn't I? Like a couple, maybe right before it was announced. I was on your on Voice of the Fans. And by the way, congrats on the 300th episode.
Appreciate you, man.
For sure. But yeah, man, I think that like even Shakur right now, Shakur might cross the street to fight Tank Davis. That'll be another big fight. So
let me see if I can, not to cut you off, but let me see if I can help answer this question. With Turkey's emergence into boxing, and they're willing to put up the money, where I think some of the promoters where they're looking at what they can make from the fight, where the Saudi team, they're looking up, they just want to put up the fight and they want recognition. So it's enough that the fight is born. Like they had one of those cards, it was a great card on paper, but it didn't turn out to be a great card in the fighting, but they end up paying a bunch of money. The one Deontay Wilder was around Christmas, I think it was. They end up paying a bunch of money, but they got a bunch of eyeballs and recognition. And so they turned around and flipped it again. And now I forget His Excellency is what they call him, but he's the one willing to pay big bucks just to have the fight. And so I think that is part of the problem, or that can be a solution to the problem, is just put up the money. What the old saying goes, build it and they will come. Put up the money, have the fights, and then people will tune in to these big fights that guys like Cleveland are itching to see. It's amusing that Canelo rejected to have turned down the fight with Crawford, and that Turkey was in Saudi Arabia. I don't know if there's some politics behind that, but I found that kind of amusing that Canelo turned that fight down to fight Crawford. He said, I heard one of the interviews, he said, well, what are the people going to say? He's too small. Well, that was the kind of same reasoning that Mayweather gave not for fighting Canelo before they actually fought. He was too small. What is it going to say about his career? And then Mayweather actually went out and fought him. But Canelo's turning around. He's in a position where he can pick and choose his fight. I get it. But sometimes it's about time that the fans say, yo, dude, you got to start ducking these cats. And if you want to claim yourself as the best, like you walk around portraying yourself as the best fighter around, you got to fight some of these other fighters who's willing to fight you. Like the David Benavidez. He says now he stopped calling his name, but he's been calling them for 3 years. So I found that kind of amusing. But what do you think is about Turkey's emergence in the boxing world and their willingness to put up the big fights? Do you think that would alleviate some of the issues that where we're not seeing these big fights like Cleveland mentioned?
Yeah, I've heard this question asked to even fighters. How do they feel about Turkey developing basically an organized boxing league with, more of a centralized power? Like, that's kind of what y'all are hinting at, right? Like, yeah. How do you, because, I mean, boxing is so different. I mean, that's kind of what I was hinting at as far as even covering in the media. Boxing is not like the NFL and the NBA where there's like one governing body, or what do they call it? Like the CBA or whatever. Like they have different, they don't even have what's it called? Pensions and stuff.
Pensions and stuff. Yeah, that's interesting. I thought that was very interesting when Charlo was pointing that out.
Right. And that's something that you had, if you had like some type of organization, right? They might collab and get that done. But as far as Turkey, I mean, they're basically, they trying to buy their way into boxing. And Tank kind of talked about that. He, they asked him would he be interested in doing that. But you have people that have real relationships, like, you know what I mean? Like Tank has been working with Al Heyman. Floyd Mayweather has been working with Al Heyman. Not to say they wouldn't work with Turkey, right? But I guess everything has a price. I mean, I'm not against it, bro. Anybody investing more in boxing is good for boxing, right? It just, at the end of the day, what fights can you make? Because if the biggest fight in the division is fighter A versus fighter B, and fighter A is on top rank, like y'all alluded to, and fighter B is on the opposite side, you still gonna have the same issue. So, I don't know if that answers your question, but
if they bring in the neutral, the neutral promoter, which Saudi and Turkey would be, that neutral guy, now they can potentially get some going. So because everybody doesn't feel like they're being taken advantage of, you know what I'm saying? So if they can make 40-40-20, then everybody's getting a piece of the action. You got what I'm saying? Yeah. I think what we're going on between Type Rank and PBC is they don't want to. We've seen some cross promotional fights, which has gone on a spectacular with Wilder Fury, Crawford and Spence, but they've to get that done, they had to kind of put their personality, not so much their personality, but to put their best interests aside and do it for the sport. And so I think if they brought in that third party, maybe we'll see more of them doing it for the sport or for the love of boxing than just for their personal interest and self-gain. And that's what a lot of boxing is that they're groups, their fashions, trying to get everybody's trying to come up. Nobody wants to bow down or lose to the other. And so that's why, Top Rank holds, they keep everything in the house. Same thing with PBC. But maybe Turkey, if they can get over some of the social issues, and they can see that this is an opportunity to grow the sport of boxing, which I think would be a big thing. Yeah, ego and pride is a huge thing. That's a devil's situation. That's exactly what I'm kind of getting at. MJ, thanks for tuning in. Did you see the robbery? And it was a big fight weekend, by the way. This past weekend. Did you see the robbery? Shaki Foster against your guy Conseo? Was it Conseo?
My guy?
Well, you know what I'm saying.
Figure of speech, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, I saw it, bro. I saw it. I tweeted after. I said I thought it was one of the worst robberies I ever seen. I never thought that fight was in question. You know,
I didn't either.
I was casually talking about the next fight on my broadcast, and I wasn't even thinking. And then I saw his hand get raised, and I was just like, "What?"
Yeah. I was blown away. I walked away because I walked away at the end of the fight, and then I came back and I saw the dude about to shed a tear in the ring. I was like, "What happened? How did it go that way?" So it was pretty crazy. Looked at the scorecard. It was wild. Tell me your thoughts on Keyshawn Davis. He fought the Mexican Miguel Medueno
or something like that.
Medueno. What's your thoughts on Keyshawn Davis? Now, Keyshawn, he has skills. But what I saw in that fight is he was hitting Miguel with some shots that were right on the button, some jabs that were right on the forehead. He was connecting on the chin with some hooks and some uppercuts. Like he was connecting with them, but it looked like Medueno had makeup. They were putting makeup on in the corner because he walked out of that fight with it looked like not a scar in his face. That told me that he may not have the punching power that I previously suspected, and if he fights somebody with some punching power, he might not last long. What did you see from that fight, and what's your thoughts on Keyshawn Davis?
Yeah, I asked that question today because of how critical people were of Shakur. I said, well, Keyshawn hit his opponent with everything he possibly could and didn't mark him, didn't bruise him, didn't cut him. No mouses, no shiners, no swelling, no nothing, right? So I said, are they gonna call Keyshawn pillow fisted next? As far as Keyshawn, bro, honestly, I was always kind of critical of him because I felt like he talked a better game than he's actually proven, right? He's the same age as Devin Haney. Devin Haney's been undisputed. He's a 2-weight division champion, and Keyshawn has not fought for a world title yet, right? So, as far as, you know, his talent, you know, he looks good, right? I thought he looked good in the fight. He threw basically everything he could at that man. He boxed him, he turned him, he threw good combinations. His defense was pretty good. He dealt with the pressure good. I was actually impressed, you know what I mean? Like, that what made me more respect him more because I seen how he'll fight. And that guy, you could tell, that guy, like, you know how you watch some boxing fights, excuse me, you think, like, man, does this guy even want to win? Like, why is he fighting like he don't want to win? The guy that Keyshawn fought, he came to win. You could tell, like, he wasn't letting him rest nothing. He was on.
No, he kept the pressure on. He kept the pressure on him. Like he kept coming to him all night.
Right.
But I just thought Keyshawn, and he has skills. I was never questioning skill set. When I saw him the first time, he got skill set. But it was just a power because he couldn't get rid of the guy. I don't think, like you're saying, he was hitting him with connecting with some powerful punches. Like everything was connected, everything was on target, but the guy just kept coming. Like
he was on that. He was on that. I caught it on my on my live stream. I said he was on that shit that Ryan was on. He was on that shit that you don't put on the paper.
Man, if it comes out, if he was on something, that would be surprising. But that was
allegedly.
Crazy.
That's a joke, people. That's a joke.
Yeah, no, I got you. That was hysterical. But I gotta, now I gotta watch and see who he fights next. He says he's ready for the best. He said he would fight Teofimo Lopez, and I know they had. What was the previous fight that they were at that they was beefing a little bit? They was on the stage together, and Teo had said something to him. Teo.
Yeah, I know. When Teo had that book.
Yeah, Teo had the book. Right.
Yeah, they were whispering to each other and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. So
they got a little relationship there, and I like to see that fight. I like to see somebody whoop up on Teo. Teo talks a lot. He reminds me of Ryan Garcia. I'm hoping he don't come up dirty, but he reminds me of Ryan Garcia. We talk about Carmel Moulton, man. What you see out of this kid, man? I told Cleavon how impressive he was, man. The first time I saw him was on Saturday night. What's your thoughts of this little dude?
Yeah, I've seen him. I was at the Tim Tszyu versus Fundora fight. He fought on the undercard of that fight. He's very aggressive, man. I think like I said, he's definitely one of the top prospects. Like, I think people was critical of him in the fight that I saw him in the last. I know he stopped this guy, over the weekend, right? I think in the second round or something. But
second round, yeah,
you see the amount of pressure. He's a great. I called him a body snatcher, right? He loves to attack the body. He got great body shots, power shots to the body. He cuts the ring off. Super aggressive. Right now, he's in the stage where he can kind of just like blow over the dudes he's fighting. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what he's doing, right? I think we'll see more from him when he have to actually like think in the ring. But right now, he's just going full force and getting guys out of there. I think the fight that I went to, he might have went to a decision, but he boxed really good and really aggressive. And he got a certain mean streak in boxing that you need. You know what I'm saying? That keeps people excited. I think people already find him exciting.
Yeah, no, he just overwhelmed dude. It was just it was crazy.
He's super aggressive.
Yeah, his speed and combination of punches that he was coming with, he just overwhelmed my guy. So which was really crazy. What fights are you looking at seeing? Obviously, we got Crawford fight in August. Does that give him enough time to fight again before the end of the year? That's going to be that's the first of the year. They usually need 6 weeks to train and get ready. It's about 6 months. That don't really sound like he's gonna have time to fight again at the end of the year, does it?
Yeah, I mean, I doubt he'll fight again this year, but I think Bud he's minimized his fights, man. It's all about, them big fights, right? He's not really interested in any fight, right? He wants that Canelo fight, and outside of that fight, maybe the Errol rematch. You know what I mean? That might be that's the next biggest fight for him. Like, what are the other big fights for him?
Yeah, I think it's really only Canelo on the table. I think a rematch with Earl at 154. I mean, we haven't seen Earl since that fight. It's been it'll be over a year here in a few weeks that fight happened. And Earl hasn't talked about fighting anybody. Or he hasn't talked about a fight on the calendar. He said somewhere. Last I heard, he said somewhere October, November, right? But
yeah, he mentioned he might want to fight, or he'd like to fight Fundora. That would. What'd you
think about Fundora? Obviously it was a cut that I don't want to say he shouldn't have won because he overcame the ugly couple rounds. The first in that fight, he overcame a couple ugly rounds himself, and then he get the nasty cut. I couldn't believe that cut just wouldn't stop bleeding, man. They did everything but put concrete on this dude's head. What do you think about Fundora? Did that impress you? His ability? He finally learned to use his length and actually box in that fight. And that was an impressive fight, even though Zoo was going through what he did. I thought it was more impressive how Fundora learned to use his distance, learned to use his size, his distance to actually create a fight. What's your thoughts on Fundora? And what do you see him? Where do you see him?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I mean, he's unlike anybody else in his weight class. He always going to have a 5-6 inch height advantage, right? And he used his length, like you say. He used his jab, and I never was high on Tim Tszyu. Honestly, I thought he was kind of, overrated, honestly. But like you said, Fundora got behind his jab in that fight, and he took a lot of punishment in that fight himself. You know what I mean? Even though he got out.
No, yeah, it was going a different direction in the first couple rounds.
Yeah,
and once that cut happened, he kind of settled in and then start using that distance or start using his reach and creating distance, which I thought was very impressive. So I'd like to see him defend the title. I don't know if Earl Spence is the first person you want to fight, you want to defend your title against, especially you've been out for a while. Earl's gonna come back hungry, we would suspect. I don't know if that's the exact fight for him, but he showed what we've been boxing fans have been looking to see. Use that distance, man. Don't just stay up on and bang on somebody. Learn to kind of control the fight. And I thought that was very impressive how you did it. We're gonna bring in somebody else. TBJ, what's good with you, baby?
What's good, my guy Cam, man? Congratulations, man. 300 episodes, very well deserved. You all deserve it. I love it. I love seeing the progress with the show and just, the overall vibe and everything that you all have been able to accomplish. 300 episodes is actually very tremendous. Congratulations, guys. Round of applause for yourselves, man. Seriously.
Hey, man, we appreciate it, man. You've been a part of this from day one. TPJ meet Champside. Champside meet TPJ.
Champside, how you doing?
Hoops and Brews. He's one half of Hoops and Brews. I know where the other half is. Probably at a bar somewhere. We'll get on that guy later. I know why he didn't want to come on, though. I really know why he didn't come on. We might get to that a little later, but I know why he didn't want to come on. But this is one half, man. So, you got any boxing questions? Champside is a boxing extraordinary. He's been covering all these fights for the. When did you start, man? We were at Ontario, with the Ontario Summit or something. This dude had 30,000 followers on YouTube when we was in Ontario. When the Charlo fight, Charlo Harrison, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
how many I had at the time, I don't remember.
It was 30. It was 30 because I'm wondering how do I get to 30? This cat had 30,000, and then man, it's been all uphill ever since. Now you got over 170,000.
Hey, that's amazing.
Just by grinding and being at every fight, providing some of the best commentary. So shout out to Champside for doing it.
I guess my question for Mr. Champside would be: is Shakur really a boring fighter, or is he just a great defensive fighter?
And this is why you got to be on time, fans. This is fans.
No. And I'm fine if y'all talked about that earlier.
Okay.
I'm fine if y'all talked about that earlier. But I know there's been like a hot discourse, and I was popping in and out of the fight. But once a fight is kind of boring to me, I kind of tune out. But even just kind of looking at the comparisons of, and he's always talking about how he feel like he belong in that class of them top, them pound for pound guys. Obviously, we've seen Ryan Garcia kind of implode, so he won't be one of those fighters that's gonna be like a marquee draw. But like for me, as I would say, like a novice boxing fan, are people just being too tough on him? That's a real question. Like, I mean, I know what Cam is gonna say already. He's probably like his fights are boring or whatever because I've heard him and Cleavon talk about boring fights. But
yeah, well, I think it depends on what you define. I mean, what you consider boring, right? I mean, to me, watching a fighter stand in front of somebody and that person try to punch them, but they can't touch them, but they can also once on one side. Like, say Shakur's opponent, he's trying his hardest to hit Shakur. He can't hit Shakur to save his life, right? And then when Shakur wants to punch him, Shakur basically punches him whenever he wants to. To me, that is entertaining because how can a guy stand in front of you flat-footed? Because we know what Shakur can do. If Shakur want to get on his feet and circle around the ring and circle back and forth and over and over and over and over, he can do that. But he didn't do that this weekend. This weekend, he came straight forward to his opponent. He let his opponent fire shots. And when he fires shit, he just, you know what I mean? He slip it, he roll it, you know what I mean? He's in the pocket with it. And to me, I think, hold on real quick. I'm going to throw it back to you. I think to me, for the casual fan, they want to see when you throw a punch, you hurt the guy that you punching, and that guy have some type of impact. Like he makes some type of, and then you'll feel like, oh, he's doing a lot. But to me, the man threw, I think he landed 194 punches. So he was active, you know what I mean? But again, he's not a huge puncher. He's never been known for his punching. He's not Tank, right? Tank will walk to you in the high guard, put up his high guard, and just walk you down. But he's more like, the defensive fighters like Pernell. Andre Ward was considered boring. Guillermo Rigondeaux was considered boring. And honestly, I was kind of talking about this that since you asked me. That boring label, it only applies to black fighters. You've never heard a Mexican fighter called boring. You've never heard a European fighter called boring. That is like, what do they call it? A buzzword, a trigger, a dog whistle? That is one of those. When you call, because Floyd was called boring too, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
So that's why I would be careful with labeling people boring because there's fighters who box to a decision, yet they're not labeled boring. But also those same fighters they label boring, they have some of the most successful careers, that including Floyd, that including Andre Ward. So No, I don't think he's boring. I think that once people hear certain narratives, they run with it. And maybe some people just truly weren't entertained, but that is how Shakur fights. That's how he wins, and that's how he got here. If he try to be something he not, he might crash out. He might be getting counted out in a fight. Who knows?
So to you, it was, I guess my point was more like, because obviously the casual boxing fans, you said they want to see knockouts and stuff like that. But to you, we still saw high level boxing. It just might not have been the most entertaining to people. Is that basically what you're saying? Like to the casual fan, it might not have been that entertaining, but it still was. Like he still was, because the way people were talking about it, they were talking about like he wasn't even fighting at a high level.
What did you?
And I was peeking in the fights. Like I would turn it on my phone every once in a while and look, and then when I didn't see no action, I just kind of tuned out because I was on the move. But the way everybody was been kind of talking about him, it kind of made it seem like he just kind of fought a bum and didn't really show up, versus it being one of them things where he just was that much of a better fighter than that other guy and boxed that much better. That's really what my, kind of what my point of, that's why I say I don't necessarily know what y'all talked about earlier, but to me, I was wondering, like, is this just unfair, or was it just bad boxing that people were like, this is bad and boring?
Well, you've heard the reaction to it, right? So you have the reaction. I challenge you to go watch it and tell me what you think after that. Tell me, do you think it was boring? Tell me, do you think there was high level boxing displayed, right? Because, if you listen to everybody else, then, that's how these narratives spread, is people listen to what other people said about the fight. But, maybe 5 people that reacted to the fight, they don't even watch boxing, right? So, boxing, like I said, every time when Floyd made the most of his money, he wasn't knocking anybody out, right? He wasn't crazy offensive. He was crazy defensive, right? So, but people still tuned in. So, people call Floyd boring too.
They tuned in to a different reason to see Floyd. This second half of his career, they were tuning in because he talked so much and they wanted to see him lose. That's why. That's
so much trash.
That's what more so why they were tuning in to see Floyd. But to answer your question, TP, Shakur Stevenson, his whole premise of coming into the fight is hit and not get hit. So he wants to hit you and not let you hit him. And so yes, because he's not in there in a fighting in a phone booth, as they would say, or going in the middle ring, just going a blow for blow. That's not his game, and that's not what he does best. So I kind of, and I'm just thinking about this, I want to kind of make the analogy of like the Utah Jazz wasn't going to run anybody out of the gym, but they were just so consistent and so effective just running the simple stuff. With Stockton and Malone, they were just so effective just running their little simple offensive game that overwhelmed a lot of teams who was trying to do something else. You know what I mean? San Antonio Spurs, another team. They're just running their effective stuff. Just what a lot of people may call simple is just effective, and it gets you guys trying to do something else. So that's something that I think makes Shakur great. I think Shakur is awesome because the whole premise of boxing is hit, not get hit, right? And he does that better than most fighters. And so I was thinking in watching this fight, and I've been slow to come around on Tank, because I was wondering, are they overhyping this kid? Before I start covering the sport, I wanted to see, that was one of the questions I wanted to have answered myself. Are they overhyping this kid? They're putting him. Are they putting him in situations where they know he can win? Are they picking his fighters? What's going on here? The difference in Tank is what we just saw in his last fight. Is Tank will go get you. Take a couple punches. He'll take with the guard. He'll let you hit him. Well, we saw that against Ryan, and then eventually he's gonna catch you with what he wants to catch you with. That's what he did against Frank Martin. Frank Martin was different. Somehow Tank little ass was stalking him from the first moment of the fight. I didn't quite understand it because I hadn't seen that approach from Tank. But he was the stalker, not throwing a punch. He stayed up in Martin's face. That was kind of disrespectful, wasn't it, Champ? He was just stayed up in his face from the moment the first bell rung. He stayed up in his face, wasn't throwing a punch the first few rounds, and allowing, in what he said after the fight, he was allowing Frank to kind of punch himself out, and then once he kind of tired out, then he saw he can get connect.
Yeah,
but that's the
mental,
difference. That's the difference between Tank and Shakur. Shakur's not going to take those initial punches. Tank will take those punches to open you up so he can get his knockout punch. That's kind of a difference between the two.
Yeah.
And so I would love to see that matchup.
Tank is going to try to walk Shakur down for sure. For sure.
It would be a great fight. It would be a great fight. Cleveland, what you got, man?
Gentlemen, we both have expressed the interest in seeing the mega fights of Canelo and Crawford, or Stevenson and Tank. But we've also come to the realization that for various reasons, those fights may not happen anytime soon. Champ, from your perspective, outside of those two fights, what is the next biggest fight that you think is possible to see, and which one would you want to see?
Fights I like. Okay, so we talked Shakur versus Tank. That's one. Devin versus Tank. Devin versus T.O. Bivol versus Better BF.
That one was delayed. It was on the table. It just got delayed because Better BF got hurt.
Exactly.
That's okay.
Errol's return possibly against Crawford, if that was possible. Benavidez versus Canelo is another fight that I like to see. Even Wilder Joshua. I know Wilder, people pretty much counted Wilder out. I know people
you want to see that one. You want to see that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't want to see Wilder go out in that way, man. I don't know. I don't know, man. Let me just keep going, bro. I don't want to harp on Wilder, man. I don't want to harp on.
Go ahead.
Let me keep going, man. I don't want to go backwards, man. But yeah, those are some.
Keep going.
Yeah, those are some. Anything involving Tank, bro. Anything involving Devin, Tank. Who else, bro? There's not really any B-sides for Inoue to fight. Usyk pretty much cleared out heavyweight, so there's not really much else for him to fight. We're like in a transitional period of boxing where the Errols, the Canelos, the Charlos, the Wilders, the Crawfords, they're all up there in age, 35, 33. And you got the young guys coming. You got Abdullah Mason. You got Kermel Moton that you mentioned. You got you got younger guys coming up too. So man, I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, anything involving maybe Tank versus T.O. They saying Tank might fight Lomachenko. So yeah, I want to see Tank fight Devin, Shakur, or T.O. Or even the Pitbull rematch, right? That's out there too. So and Boots versus somebody, I don't know, Boots versus Bud.
We get Boots this weekend. I think this is no boxing this week. Well, he's the only one boxing, so
that's a great fight for casuals.
Yeah, right. You're right. Yeah, well, Boots is a great fighter for casuals because he's gonna bring it and he's gonna try to do damage. So this would be a nice opening, I think, coming out party for Boots. This is kind of what I'm expecting. Champ, let the people know where they can find you, man. Let everybody know where they can find you. We see you shining.
Can I ask one quick question though? Because I heard it. Can I ask Champ one quick question? Because I heard it as I was on my way to the bathroom. Can I just ask you why you want to see a Joshua Wilder fight? Like, don't you think that at this point, like, he's only gonna hurt himself and do more long-term damage to his life and his health if he fights again? Like, he doesn't. And I think one of the announcers said after his last fight that he looked differently since he knocked out his friend. I forgot what the name of the boxer was that was his friend. But once he cold knocked his friend out, he hadn't knocked anybody out basically since. So my question is, like, is he really fit to be in the ring, or do we just want to see him fight because we love what he provided us when he was at his peak? And I'm sorry to drag that on, but I really want to know from a boxing guy, because seeing that last fight, I honestly was very depressed once that fight was over.
Yeah, it's probably the latter, bro. Honestly, it's probably just my because that was one of the fights we attached to is Wilder Joshua for years, and they went back and forth. Do you want to fight me? I got 50 million. Give me 50 million. I'll fight you. So it's one of them fights that never happened. So I think maybe that's me attaching to it. But yes, I felt the same way. Like after watching Wilder last, like damn, bro, I don't want to see Wilder get take that type of punishment ever again. And
if Joshua didn't lose to Ruiz, we might have saw that fight.
Huh?
If Joshua didn't lose to Ruiz, Andy Ruiz, we would have
Right. Yeah. I mean, Joshua's lost what 3? He got like 3 losses himself. He's never really been stopped like the way Wilder was stopped in his last fight. But I mean, yeah, bro, that's kind of why I skipped over it, because off the top of my head, I'm thinking I want to see that fight, but I don't know if Wilder really loves boxing anymore. He even said that, he's basically well off. He's wealthy, and he doesn't have the same hunger he used to have. He said that, right? So when you lose that hunger, it becomes hard. But I don't think Joshua's a perfect fighter or anything, but I don't know, man. It's hard to say. So
I think Joshua is proving he's a gettable fighter. So that's why it would be enticing for Wilder to have that fight. Joshua hasn't proven that he's the dominant fighter, that he's untouchable. He's proven that he's very gettable. And so I think that's some appeal there in itself.
I got something for you before you let me go.
What you got?
What's going on with Team USA? Are we going to be shocked like we were in the FIBA games by like Germany or something, or are we going to handle business? Because I don't know how we have such a talented team every time, and then one NBA player, like they were saying, the most dangerous person in the Olympics in the basketball is the C+ player in the NBA that's playing for his country.
Can I answer that question real quick?
Go for it.
It was a done deal. It was a lock before today when Los Angeles Clippers for Kawhi Leonard. It was determined that he was not going to be able to play and has been replaced by Derek White. Now, as we all understand basketball, when you lose the caliber of Kawhi Leonard and then replace
you giving Kawhi some props?
Hold on now.
Oh, this hurts.
That's a precipitous drop in your talent level, right? Now, that also being said, when you have Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Joel Embiid, and Anthony Edwards, you should be able to get down with anybody in the world. I don't really care who you throw at us. Canada has a formidable team. France has a really good team. But if they do lose or get the silver, it will be the fault of Kawhi Leonard. Solely 100% on him. But I don't believe that's going to happen. I believe that we are still in cruise control.
How's it going to be his fault? He's not even playing.
Because they replaced him with Derek White. Did you hear what I just said? They replaced Kawhi Leonard with Derek White.
Who's a champion? Derek White is an NBA champion. You understand that? He's Derek White is an NBA champion.
With all due respect, please stop.
You did catch that part. Okay, so you did catch that part. Okay, cool. But
that's not a replacement.
They should be able to run the table. I think the gold medal game, whether it's Canada or France, will be a more difficult game than they think it will be. But the ace in the hole is always that 3-point line is just too close, and these shooters are just too good. And eventually, they'll be able to overwhelm whoever they're playing in the gold medal game.
A short answer to your question is the USA. This might be the last time we can say comfortably that the USA is going to dominate this Olympic run. Because they still have the better players, even though with an agent LeBron, an agent Steph, agent Kevin Durant, those three alone, and we're not even adding in Embiid, and then you got to go with the young boys with Booker and Anthony Edwards, like I mean, and then Tatum, who's going to be riding confidence high. This is going to be the last year that we can comfortably say that they're going to win this. I can say that without question. TBJ, what you got?
I actually disagree with both of you all. I think that this actually will be a very, very tough Olympics for them. I don't think that there's a very clear best player on the team, and I think that's kind of the problem. I think the best players in the NBA are now on other teams. And I like Embiid a lot, but I don't even think Embiid is better than Jokic or better than Luka. I don't think he's better than Giannis. And even looking at a team like Canada, like the USA could barely score in the first quarter versus Canada to open it up in their exhibition. I know that I don't believe LeBron played, but that's not my point. Like, I think that the foreign game is a lot different. It's played a lot differently. Guys are allowed to just stay in the paint and pack in the paint. I think that what you will see a lot of is a lot of man-on-man defense, and versus the NBA where it's a lot of doubling and a lot of switching. I think the world is just going to try to play them straight up. They're going to try to bully them, and I think that it will be tough. I do think that we will win gold, but I don't think that it'll be a cakewalk, and I think that it'll actually be very, very tough. And also, like, a lot of these guys are, more than wanting to beat America, as we look at, kind of soccer and the Euro Cup and the Copa Cup and the Copa America Cup, these guys, they play for the pride of their country. And I don't think any of these players on the United States of America team are playing for the pride of America. I think they're playing for Nike basketball. And I think that that's a hugely, vastly different Grand Canyon size type of difference between those soccer players who play for their country, and if they miss a penalty kick, even if they win, they crying after the game because they still feel like they let their country down. I don't think any of these guys care enough about it. So I look forward to how they will react versus adversity. We will see how they will react, but with me not knowing who the best player is on the team, who's going to be the guy to take the last shot? And if you're telling me it's LeBron, then I don't know if we win in gold.
Why would LeBron take the last shot? You got Steph Curry and Klay Thompson.
Because he was, Klay Thompson is not on the USA team, and LeBron was voted. Wait.
No, I meant Kevin Durant.
But LeBron was voted by the players on the team as the best player. So inherently, by all of the other guys on the team saying Bron is the best player, he's going to get the last shot. And I think that number one, that's preposterous. Yeah. Number two, I think it's ridiculous that these other guys will concede him being the best player on the team. Where is your personal pride?
That there, right there,
guys that are 10 to 15 years. Here's Junior. Where is your pride at?
I would agree there.
He got
5 votes. He got 5 votes.
Ant said he's still the number one option. Saying you're the number one option and the best player on the team is a different thing. Number one option, we talking about offense. Best player on the team means the best player on the entire team.
But the difference of these guys, they've been wearing his shoes or had the option to buy his shoes for the most of their playing career.
Correct.
Huh?
They just being politically correct. We'll see when the game is on the line.
I don't think it's about them being politically correct. I believe that they believe that. And if they believe that, we have a lot of larger problems with this team.
I agree with you
because a 40-year-old cannot be the best player on the best team in the world. It's preposterous to even think that would happen. And albeit LeBron can put that as another feather in his cap. Well, I was the best player on the team. We won the Olympics and we came back, blah, blah, blah. This team is loaded, and all these other guys should be looking to say, how can I go in front of the world and prove to the world that I am the best player in the world? And that starts with you not fucking voting LeBron James as the best player on the team. I don't give a fuck who you are.
I agree with you. And then you made another good point, is that emotional, that playing for your country, that emotional motivation is definitely bigger than playing for, because we don't play for our country. They play for their team. They play for their contract. So that motivation is something else. That might be a determining factor.
I don't want Noah Lyles' statement to resurface, because that kind of pissed me off when he said what he said.
What, years ago?
No, when he said during the FIBA games last summer, when he said that, well, why did the NBA call themselves world champions? They only play in America.
So listen, understanding where he's coming from. Yeah. He really wasn't taking shots at the NBA players per se, because he just got finished beating cats from other countries, right? He had a run against Jamaica. He has to run against the guys in.
It was a whack. That to me is just a whack point.
I certainly understand where you're coming from, but you got to look at the source. And then he's still track athletes. They're still calling from attention. Yeah. They don't get attention that NBA players get. So of course he's gonna have something to say negative to that.
Yeah.
Champside, love you, bro. Thanks for tuning in, man. Give the people give yourselves a round of applause for being here. Let the people know one more time where they can find all the fresh gear from, and then all your commentary throughout the week.
Appreciate you, bro. Thank y'all for having me on. Like I said, congrats on the 300th episode. I know as content creators, it's a lot of work to sit aside time and talk sports. I try to tap into y'all every now and then. I'll drop in the chat or just listen in. But you can follow me on YouTube, Champside. You can follow me on Instagram, champ_side, Twitter, The Champside, Facebook, The Champside, champside.com. I do cover boxing predominantly, but I'm a huge basketball, football fan. I even watch golf, NASCAR. So even tennis, you know what I mean? I like to follow Coco Golf, Bubba Wallace in NASCAR, and
This guy just expanded the covering the
board. Well, the thing is I watch more than I cover because it's so much work to cover all of it. But it's easier for me to watch it all, right? So I watch it all, but I have to be selective what I cover. So thank y'all for supporting me. Shout out to Cam, who I've known a long time and have been supporting me. And I'm glad that, we still have that relationship. And like I said, wishing you nothing but the best. I'm going to definitely hit you about that NFL stuff, though. I've been, we've been talking about this for a minute.
Yeah, no problem, man. You got the email. The phone's always on, bro. Hit me up.
For sure. All right, man. Y'all have a good one, man. All right.
Yeah, Champside. Mr. TPJ, what's good? What you drinking over there? I see you.
I'm just
drinking not water in the wine bottle.
No, it's a little cheap Moscato.
Okay, Moscato always works.
I was at the beach vibing earlier, so I had a little Moscato with some watermelon, some lemon in it by the beach. Chilled, enjoy the shade.
If you haven't been there, San Antonio Wineries, just east of LA. Just east of downtown LA. If you haven't been there, great wine selection there. Great wine selection. Nice cool spot.
All right.
San Antonio Wineries, bro. I try to tell your boy about it, but he
check it out.
Did you hear Cleavon trying to take a little sneak diss at Kawhi Leonard? Did you hear that? That was a backhanded compliment. That was a backhanded compliment.
100% the truth.
Did you hear that, TP?
I heard it, but if I'm being honest, who really cares if Kawhi plays or if he doesn't play?
I mean, it was best. People were saying it's a surprising and
it is because I just don't understand why you show up and waste everybody's time to go there for 3 days. He just wanted a free vacation.
Yeah, he want to get a run in. That's good. Let him know that he can still compete at that level with those guys. So
yeah, I would have much rather seen him win gold. But has he won gold before?
He has. Steph hasn't either.
Yeah, that's something that as a person that's an all-time great in basketball, that's something you should want as a feather in your cap. So I don't know why he didn't do it, but I understand it. Like Kawhi is aging, he's hurt a lot. Honestly, I think the Clippers probably put him up to it. If I'm being honest, to go in, go give it a shot. We got the new arena opening up in a couple of months. That'll be world press and world news that you don't play, and you say you're preparing and getting ready for the upcoming season, and then that looks and sounds good to the world. We build some excitement for our fans, knowing that you're going to be healthy because you rested and you didn't play in the Olympics, and we open up this new stadium. And you're back, because also this is the other thing. Like I was saying it in the middle of the season that when he was out, that I thought he retore his meniscus, and they just didn't tell us. And I still believe he retore his meniscus. It just wasn't bad enough to where they needed to do surgery. They just tried to rehab it and heal it, but they didn't want to say that he tore his meniscus today because they had just given him $200 million or something like that. And you opening up a new stadium, so why would you say your superstar is hurt? And you just gave him $200 million and you got a new stadium opening. So I think part of it was him showing like, hey, I'm healthy. I'll be there next year. Fans, show up. Rest of the world, I play for the Clippers. We play here. I'm one of the best players in the world because I made the team. I'm healthy. Show up to the stadium in October. I'll be there. I'm one of the best players in the world. I'm healthy, but I can't do this because I want to stay healthy. Because I'm playing in October at that brand new stadium that we just built. Don't forget, we got a brand new stadium. We got new uniforms. We got all of that. And I'm healthy now. I showed up. The world, y'all see me. I was there, right? I practiced. And there was footage of me in the scrimmages. The new stadium opened in October. I'm gonna tap my bro Derek White in. He a champion. You know, I'm gonna see y'all in October at the Intuit Dome.
Who's the champion? Who's the championship? Who's the champion, Thomas? Who's the champion?
Derek White. No, shout out to Derek White. He deserves it. He played phenomenal this year. He don't deserve to be on an Olympic team. That's actually a slap in the face to the game of basketball when Jalen Brunson exists.
They
I don't give a no. Listen, I don't care who.
They got Stephen Halliburton.
Give me the best players. I don't like all this politicking bullshit. Because how is Jaylen Brown last season the highest paid player in NBA history? Goes on, win Eastern Conference Finals MVP and NBA Finals MVP, and he don't make the team. He don't get a call. He on the internet tweeting like us. He on the internet tweeting like us, like, why he ain't make the team? He tweeted like, damn, why he make it?
Years ago, Grant Hill decided on this team months ago. So.
Man, don't have me in here disrespecting Grant Hill because I have a lot of respect for Grant Hill, but that's some bullshit. And if Grant Hill played a part of that, that's some bullshit, Grant.
He's running it, ain't he? Grant Hill's running them.
And if I'm Jaylen Brown, you know what? I'm gonna be an asshole and just show up and play a couple big 3 games. Void my contract, please.
He might do that too. He literally might do that.
I might show up
Jaylen Brown
and play a couple big 3 games in the middle of the Olympics.
So
Ice Cube, what you doing? Saturday, August 7th. That might not even be a real date. Yeah, you know Team USA might play that day. Oh yeah, I'm how many games y'all play in a day?
Can
I get on a couple of them? Give me a little blow. I'm doing it for the kids. Donate my salary to charity so the NBA won't get mad. Like, that's some bullshit. They all in cahoots with each other. They all in bed with each other. And you can't tell me that this guy that just won arguably 2 of the top 3 most prestigious awards in the top, in American sports or the major 4 sports, which is a Finals MVP award. Like, that award has got lure. Like, the fact that Michael Jordan won 6 of those and never lost put him in a category with the greatest athletes to ever exist. So for you to tell me that Jaylen Brown did that while winning the one before, being the best defensive player on the team and scoring as much as the guy that's the face of the Olympic team, it's preposterous. And I'm done talking about it.
That team was made months in advance. That's the answer.
That's bull. Cam, you're missing my point. I do not care. It's bullshit.
No, I hear your point.
Don't go fucking tap a ball-headed guy that ain't made an all-star team over the guy that won the 2 awards that you wanted. He won the 3. He won all 3 trophies you want to win at the end of the year. He won.
Ooh, you saying everything Cleveland want to say.
Be on the team. We made the team
everything Cleveland want to say.
I don't give a fuck about what you made 6 months ago. Remake it. Do it again. You're just mad because he criticized y'all because y'all tried to blackball Kyrie because he tweeted a fucking YouTube link.
There you go.
Fuck out of here. That's some bullshit.
Let's get back to that team who's building a new stadium in Inglewood, California. Have you been to the stadium yet?
No, I have better things to do with my time, with all due respect, than to go look at a construction site. When it's done, I will go there. I will admire it. I will enjoy that new media room. I will take so much footage on my phone and make so many reels and videos and posts about it on our YouTube channel. But until it's done, I'm not going to drive to Inglewood to go stare at a hole in the middle of the ground with some beams.
It ain't a hole in the ground. That's what it was 3 years ago.
Why I want to see a work in progress? Just show it to me when it's done. That's like your girlfriend being like, yo, I'm finna surprise you with a gift. And then she send you a picture of half the box and says, does this look like something you want, Cam? And you like, just show me what it is. If that's the case, I'll get the present when it show up.
Yeah. I mean, I hear where you're coming from. So you talking about, let's talk about the construction of this team, though. They disrespect PG with the 2 years for 60.
How is that disrespect? I was on my podcast saying that Klay Thompson deserved $5 million a year from the Magic. Now I was joking, but Klay got what, 20 a year?
Yeah, come on.
No,
Klay
wait.
This is the player that gave up.
I'm asking you a question. Hold on. Can I ask you a question?
Gave up a lot for.
But so what? Everybody gives up a lot for everybody. You pay the price that you want to get the thing you want. And they wanted him at that point in time. They thought they had a run, and they did have a run. The problem is that they choked multiple times and they were hurt multiple times. So that's just brass tacks. But my question is, if Clay is worth $60 million,
why did Kawhi get 3 years, 150?
Because
if you're saying
you not just hear that 5-minute spiel I went on about I'm one of the best players in the world. I'm playing. Do you see Paul George on Team USA?
Paul George doesn't have the two rings that Kawhi.
No, wait a minute. Last I checked, Kawhi Leonard is a New Balance athlete, so we can't even blame the shoe companies. He is a New Balance athlete.
I'm not buying that.
No, my point is, we all know Kawhi Leonard, when healthy, is a top 5 basketball player. The problem is when healthy. When healthy, Paul George is a top 15, top 20, top 25 basketball player. You heard how many tops I went through down the list? Kawhi, maybe top 5 when he's healthy. The other guy, 15, 20, 25. Clay was a borderline top 25, top 20 player most of his career. Now he's borderline top 30 to 45, maybe 50, maybe below.
Wow, you really
my point is, if PG is what, 33? Why would I pay a guy that's barely better than Klay Thompson $200 million? Versus
now, 200 was
on the Olympic team.
200 was a bit much, but he's not.
He wanted 50 a year. Why would I give you $50 million a year? Cam, do you remember when we was watching Clippers Suns Game 6 in Staples Center, and we was sitting in that little middle part where the hockey people do the announcing thing, watching that conference finals, and the first half was happening, and PG was like 2-9. I turned to you, Cam, and I said the Clippers gonna lose. You said no, they're not gonna lose. I said PG is shooting like shit. They about to lose. You said, well, yeah, the guys is hurt. And I said, I don't want to hear nothing about nobody hurt. He is shooting 2 of 9. They are at home right now. And he had I think he had like 6 points in the first half. You said, well, he'll still finish the game with 30. They're not going to win.
I think
and they didn't win. They lost. Chris Paul celebrated on his home floor and then went to the finals.
Okay.
Why does he need $60 million a year?
60 is a stretch. 60 is a stretch. But
why does he need 50?
So for all of that you said.
The Sixers overpaid for him.
We'll see.
They overpaid for him
because they needed him to be better than Tobias Harris.
So you go Harris, do what the Clippers did and get Tobias Harris heavy.
If all he has to do is be better than Tobias Harris, really.
Tobias Harris heavy is not get him to the finals.
We'll see. If Embiid plays like he's been playing for the last couple of years and actually stays healthy later in the season.
Let's just leave that whole second part of that and that comma you put as you continue. That's he's never healthy. So hobbled Embiid in the playoffs, second round. You got Tyrese Maxey, and then you look at Paul George and you say, hey, big fella, are you going to help get us to the conference finals and get us to the finals?
No.
You know what he's going to say? Thank you for tuning into the podcast, P Podcast, sponsored by FanDuel and DraftKings. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you insert a podcast P code. And then he gonna go out there and shoot 4 of 16 from the field, give you 19 points, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists. And then after the season, he gonna say, "Well, they awoke the bully this time."
Right. Yeah, now some of the podcast commentary does not match reality. I'll give you that. I wouldn't say and I'm not saying that they should have gave him the 50 a year at the 4 years 214, 212 that Philly gave him. I agree he didn't deserve that, but they could have matched the same contract. They brought him and Kawhi in together. If you're going to continue the Kawhi and PG experience, they're about the same level for their time in Los Angeles. They're about the same level. Yes, obviously Kawhi has championships, but their time in Los Angeles with the Clippers, they've been about on the same level. Both of them had injuries at inopportune times. Both of them played really well when the other one wasn't there. They were about the same player. He does because Kawhi has rings, so you can't offer him the 3 years 153. So you maybe 3 years, one.
Can I ask you a question? How do the words "they're about the same player" and you say this man got 2 rings and the other guy got none.
Specifically for their time.
And the guy was the best player on both teams when he got the
for
rings,
their
and the other guy
time
had
in Los
none.
Angeles. For their time in Los Angeles,
Kawhi Leonard was way better than him when he was healthy.
I'm sorry?
Cleavon, can I ask you a question? Who's a better player right now, or who would you rather on your team, Lauri Markkanen or Paul George?
Oh, if I'm going long term, it's not like a 1 year or 2 year thing. It's got to be Markkanen.
Would you give Lauri Markkanen $200 million?
No.
What? Okay, so enough of this conversation. Thank you for giving your feedback on this. Do you see the plan of what the Clippers are doing though? Do you see?
Yeah, save money.
They wanted to get younger. They wanted to get younger and more athletic. But that save money, we're not talking about Jeannie Buss. We're talking about Steve Ballmer. When is money been?
I don't think it's about saving money. I think they wanted to save money, but also it's not about saving money. Like, what you got to realize that the apron, and when you go above the tax threshold and the second, you go above the first and the second. There are real life repercussions that you have. Like, you can't use your trade exceptions, you can't use certain mid-level exceptions. You lose your draft picks, or you fall down to the 30th pick in the draft. So there are a lot of reasons as to why you don't want to continue to sell high when you don't believe that what you have is a championship contender. And if one of the guys is going to be there in every year and the other one is not going to be there, and you're only going to make it to the second round every year anyways, you might as well bet on the guy that's a top 5 player when he's healthy, build around him, rest him up like you need to when you need to rest him up, because you have a younger, more athletic team. They also are taller. Daniel Tice is 6'8". Mo Bamba is 7 feet tall. Mo Bamba also shoots a better field goal percentage and a better three-point percentage than Daniel Tice as well, while being 4 inches taller than him. So you build off of getting more size, more rebounding. You try to eliminate Paul George from the culture, because I do believe even being a Clippers reporter for the past 5 years and being there Paul George's whole career, including in the pressers when they win, when they lose, he always fucking smiling. What the fuck are you smiling for? You're not fucking winning. Stop fucking smiling. Stop smiling. Stop fucking smiling. When Kawhi going to post games, people can say what they want to him, but Kawhi going to them shits he beat. Kawhi, you had a really nice dunk in the first half, even though you all lost.
Well, I mean,
Kawhi, what did it feel like when you dunked the basketball?
You were there, you saw it.
Well, I grabbed the ball. He threw the ball in the outlet. I caught it. I saw the defender one there. I took 2 dribbles and I dunked it. But we lost, so it don't matter. Paul, you had that tremendous 360 windmill near the end of the game when you guys lost. What did you think about it? Man, I was really just trying to give my team some emotion, get us back in the game, get the guys feeling good, you know what I mean? But unfortunately, the things don't always work out the way we want them to. But we going to get back in the lab. We going to work at it, next year. And we going to be back. We're going to be getting the ring. Yeah, but Paul, what did you think about that game-winning 3 you missed and the 2 jumpers before that from the mid-range? Man, sometimes you really don't. You don't make them all. But, we always got next year. They awoke the bully. I'll be back next year. I'll be better. We will be better. You get the difference in them 2 answers? One guy's like, shut the fuck up talking to me. We just fucking lost. I don't want to talk to you. The other guy's like, let me make everybody feel better about me not showing up when I needed to show up. And that's the crux of PG whole time here. And this is nothing personal. I love PG. He's a nice guy. I'm going to continue to say hi to him. He is a sweet gentleman, very kind, speaks to everybody, never disrespected anybody, never done anything wrong. But if you want to talk about a leader or a dog, give me Klay Thompson any day of his career over PG.
Whoa.
Because you know what Klay not going to go out there and do when he know Kawhi hurt or Steph Curry hurt in that game 6 is go 2 of 9 in the fucking first half and then get blown out on your home floor to not go to the finals. When the other guy has been rehabbing for months off of this knee injury and they saying if y'all make the finals, he going to come back. And you can't even perform in game 6. And then you get up there and you make these excuses and you act like people are fucking bullying you when you play terribly and you don't show up. And then you say, oh, they don't play me. They didn't pay Klay Thompson because he didn't fucking show up. So why do you need $200 million, Paul George? You were never there when they needed you.
You're making fans today, boy.
I'm hot. I'm finna go turn my AC on. But like this shit makes me so mad. Look at this PG shit. It's like shut up. Well, I want the same money as Kawhi.
Look at this roster.
Me and Kawhi kind of equal.
Listen.
You're not equal to Kawhi, Paul.
Oh my goodness. Listen to this. So Derrick Jones, Kevin Porter Jr., Nick Batum, Chris Dunn. That's an adequate replacement? That's Chris Dunn, Nick Batum, Kevin Porter Jr., Derrick Jones, and James Harden. That's adequate replacement?
I think that's tremendous. I think you lost nothing. I think you gained size in the front court. You gained size on the perimeter. You gained ball handling. You asked me a question. I'm giving you the answer. You gained perimeter playmaking and perimeter defense. Bones Highland could literally not play at all. So you really had 1 point guard and a bunch of shooting guards and wings. And that by proxy made Paul George the point guard. And when he go cold, which he always inevitably does, the ball stopped moving because he can't make a shot. So he stopped passing the ball. So you actually having a guy like Chris Dunn in the wings, you letting go of a guy like Russell Westbrook, which is like high motor but very up and down. And even with some of these young guys, like I think Russ did his job last year. And that was to motivate the young guys and show them that there were opportunities that they could grasp if they just played hard. And I even think a guy like your favorite player, Terrence Mann, learned a lot from Russ, where a lot of the times you don't need to make shots as long as you have energy. And that's the reason why Mann stayed on the floor a lot of the times when he wasn't making shots, because it was nonstop energy, pace, tenacity. He rebounded, and he did make clutch shots when they needed him to. So this year, I just think that they're going more trying to lean on slashing and playmaking and rebounding. Like last year, they were not a good rebounding team. But they got all these big wings, but you can't get a rebound. Like, why is Paul George 6'9", averaging 6 rebounds a game? But you want $200 million.
He's more. So you expect anything from Porter Jr., Kevin Porter Jr.?
I expect him to stay out of trouble.
Well, hopefully he has some influence now. Cleveland now. Hopefully he would put Ty Lue. Ty Lue can coach him up and teach him how to be a man and give him that fatherly advice and leadership that he's been lacking. Cleveland already shaking. Come on, what you got?
Ty Lue, look.
No, he's a grown ass man.
I'm lit on the scene. I see these young guys out.
Shown at multiple stops that he can't be depended upon to be responsible. It's just not his thing. So at some point, there's going to be a run in, an altercation, and he's going to be a problem. He's a malcontent. He's not wired. He's chemically imbalanced.
Oh my goodness! This cat with the chemical imbalance.
It's chemically imbalanced in certain ways, and so being in LA is not going to be a positive thing. There's just too many distractions and things to get into. And Ty Lue is used to coaching professionals, and he to this point has not proven to be a professional. So I don't think that's a great addition to that. But back to the original point, there's something that's being missed here, is that the experiment failed, but rather than get rid of them both, they decided to keep the player that they got initially and get rid of the sidekick. And so that just puts more pressure on him.
They never wanted PG.
He will never play a full season ever again. So, I mean, he can't even play in the Olympics. So,
I mean, that's not a bad thing. He shouldn't have been in Las Vegas anyway, except
Do I detect a Spurs fan here?
No.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure Cleavon wasn't like an undercover Spurs fan who was mad that Kawhi left.
Oh, no. I thought it was hilarious that Kawhi decided he didn't want to be a Laker and that he wanted to go and do his own thing. But in order to go and do his own thing, you have to go get me my hand-picked player that I want. And if you don't go and get him, I'm not coming to your team. Okay, well, what does that take? Well, that takes Shea and 4 first-round picks. Okay.
To be fair, I don't think Shea would have been as good if Kawhi was on the team.
Coming off your championship and your NBA championship MVP, right?
Most GMs in the league would have made that move.
Okay, but at what point do you realize that experiment didn't work, and why didn't they get rid of both of them? Because Kawhi is never going to.
Because you're opening a new stadium. You have a new stadium. You can't get rid of a top 5 basketball player when you're opening a brand new $1 billion stadium that you paid cash to make.
Okay, so you guys, I'm cutting off all this Clipper bashing right now. I'm cutting it off early, but I want to know. I want to set Thomas off with this one. What do you expect from Bronny?
Y'all have a good night. I really enjoy being on y'all podcast, episode number 300. You all are the titans of the HNB channel. You all have been loyal, consistent. You have been here every single week. Have you all taken a week off? I don't think I've taken a week off. I think y'all started on around like episode 70 or something on the channel. So to think that it's been like 230 plus episodes, and you all have made it this far and accomplished so much, just shows that that's what happens when you actually work for something, and you put in the time and the dedication and the hard work to get there, and things aren't just handed to you. And I think that it's going to be amazing. I look forward to seeing y'all when y'all up to episode number 500. And you're accomplished because of the work that you do, and not because your dad wants you to have a podcast. So, I think that you all, and it's a testament to the work that you've done and you put in. And I'm for real. Like, it takes a lot of heart and a lot of dedication.
Oh my goodness.
To really put forth the time to want to be great at being a podcaster and to show up every single week and do it over and over and over and over and over again and do it at a high level. It's a lot of mediocre podcasters that have done a lot of mediocre podcasts and got signed, but I give you all a lot of credit for just like really putting in the work and like focusing. And even Cam get on my nerves a lot of times, but he's always asking for things that are moving the podcast forward and the momentum of it. So I love that. That shows me that he's a real student of the game. And that's the one thing that I do like about Cam. Like, even him going back to school to learn how all of this works and it fits together and it puts together in a scheme. Like, to me, that shows a real level of dedication for you to go back to school when you could have just kept going forward and doing the same thing. Even though you weren't that great, you went and you learned and you got better. And that's the really valuable thing. And that's the thing that will always have you as a part of my team, and not just because you cool or you somebody's son or something like that. And I appreciate Cleavon because, Cleavon is just a great guy. It seems like he's a great guy. Cleavon, I'm sorry, I still have not finished your book, but I will finish your book, I promise. But I started it. I've read it, but I have to finish it. Phenomenal book. You all need to go buy it when it drops. They are more than podcasters, more than sports reporters. These guys are legends. I love them. Thank you all so much for your time. And no, I do not want to talk about somebody's son who is irrelevant.
Let the people know where they can find you, Thomas. Thanks for tuning in.
Find me here on HNB Media TV. That's youtube.com/HNB Media TV. You can also find me at Hoops in the Brews on Twitter, as well as at HNB Media TV on Twitter. Make sure if you are listening to this and you've been watching this and you haven't dropped a like, a comment, a subscribe, you haven't given this 5 stars on the Apple Podcast or Spotify, how about you do that? This is episode number 300. You're not locked in yet. What the fuck is wrong with you? I'll see you guys later. Much love. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Chief. We got another Mr. Eric Williams, Eric D. Williams. How you doing, big dog?
What's up, fellas?
Doing good.
Hey, man. Thank you for tuning in, big guy. Thanks for hanging with us. Sorry about that long soliloquy, man. But you are here, man. Thanks for joining us. Episode 300, Eric. Episode 300, man. It's been a long ride, but it's been fun. It's been fun, and I appreciate your commentary, your assistance, your feedback. I'm gonna tell you guys the story. I told it before, but I'm gonna tell it a different way this time. I respect Eric in his game because I showed up at the camp and I had no idea what was going on. Other than I knew the quarterback was going to say hike. I knew that he was going to drop back and throw it to the receiver. I knew he was going to hand off. There was one or two things that can happen. But to understand how to cover the NFL properly, I followed Mr. Eric Williams. I know I got on his nerves because I was asking question after question after question. And Eric, that was one of the big reasons I wanted to go to school, because I got tired of bothering yourself with silly questions, and I want to figure out exactly what I needed to be doing, the questions to ask, and how to carry myself. But I did learn how to. I got a outline from Mr. Eric Williams, so thank you, Eric. Thank you for that. And then, fans, I'm talking to. We meet it usually at the facility and go into the press room where we kind of gather, and they tell us, okay, you can come down to the field at 12:30. You know, time may not be exact, but you can come down to the field at 12:30. So most of us there at 11:30, 11:45, what have you. Guys like Eric show up at 12:01, and then they're the first one to get at the door to go into the field. But Eric is sending us tweet. Eric was working on the story. I don't know if you remember the exact story, but it was there was some confusion going on with the owners. Eric was working on the story. There was a lit story that they were working on. I get it. I was like, Eric, forget exactly the question I'm asking, but I'm like, Eric, yo, what's going on? What's going on? Cameron, I gotta get this tweet out. Give me a second. Just give me 10 seconds. Let me get the tweet out. And again, I was just trying to get an understanding of what I should be doing, how I can carry myself better. But that was Eric's passion and determination to get the story right, to get the tweet right. Do you remember that situation, Eric?
I do remember that, because I was not a happy person at that moment, because it was breaking news.
But it was breaking news.
But like you said, and we always talk about, I don't want to be 2 minutes first. I want to be right more than first. So I wanted to make sure that I had it right, what I was saying. It was when Dean Spanos dropped the F-bomb because he was angry because there was a report out there that said the Chargers were trying to move to London, and so he just kind of had gotten tired of hearing the report. So he's emphatic in how he responded to it, and basically he did that purposely to kind of make his point. And so we had got the information, was trying to get it out there. You were asking me what had happened during that interview. I was like, pump the brakes, bro. Like I gotta do this real quick. And
he didn't say pump the brakes, folks. He didn't say pump the brakes.
I might have said something else. But that's exactly that's what I was trying to say.
Sure. I get it. No, and I understand the scenario you were in. And I don't want to say pressure, but I understand the scenario. But again, I was trying to find out for myself what the hell was going on, because I wasn't invited to the meeting. But no, hey, Eric, I appreciate your time, man. You've always been really cool with me. You've been cool to the show, always been a good friend of the show. So thank you for coming on. Sure. And man, how's your summer been?
Well, first of all, let me congratulate you. 300 is a lot. Let me congratulate Cleavon for doing 300 shows with you, because that takes a little bit of patience. So congratulations to both of you. Summer's been great. It's been good to just kind of, get some time away, spend some time with family, do some things with them. My kids are getting older. So I want to, try to enjoy, being around them as much as possible. And then, always know that, the season is coming. And once the season's coming, you're kind of back on that hamster wheel and you're running, until February. So I'm enjoying these last few weeks or so before training camp starts.
Yeah. And you're looking up to somebody now, huh?
Oh, yeah. He's got me by at least 4 inches, bro. Yeah. And he's talking a lot.
Yeah, I bet. He's been waiting for this moment.
We're going to play some one-on-one and see what it's about. You don't understand. I still got them old school moves, and it's not going to be fair. There's going to be some fouling.
It's going to be some fouling. You hear that? Pull rank up.
So,
So, Eric, want to ask you a couple questions. You didn't travel, if I remember correctly. You didn't travel covering the USFL or the UFL.
Yep.
How did you think their second season went? It was kind of their inaugural season, their first joint season with the former USFL. How would you grade that season? And I talked to Moose Johnson. He was at the Stallions' first home game, first game of the playoff. They were here in Birmingham. And I talked to Moose Johnson, and I had to a couple weeks prior. I talked to Larry Roundtree.
Okay.
Who was a former Charger, right? It was the game. I don't know if you watched the game. I think he had 2 fumbles that game. I talked to him after the game. But what I was curious about was how legitimate of an opportunity did he feel this was getting back to the NFL? And he was like, well, it's it's not practice, but every chance you get a game rep, every chance you get it to put a game rep on tape, you want to do that and do your best. And so this is just more game reps, more opportunities, which made great sense. And then he still had his eyes obviously on getting back to the NFL, which was cool. And then Moose gave me a unique answer. I asked Moose a similar question. Does he see this as a legitimate opportunity for guys to kind of go back to the NFL? And what he says is, we're trying to make a league here. We don't necessarily consider ourselves a farm team for the NFL. We're trying to have a good league here where we can generate good fans every year, have fans come back and fill the stadium. I thought that was kind of a much different answer than Larry gave me, than Roundtree gave me, and I guess that was from an executive perspective. What's your thoughts on it in covering the two leagues? What's your thoughts on that, on the league and how they're doing?
Well, let's talk about the league itself in terms of the talent level. I do feel like the talent level was the best I've seen in the 3 years covering spring football, and that's 2 years of the USFL. And then now this third season with the XFL and the USFL combined to form the UFL. And I say that because you had 16 teams condensed to 8 teams. And so you cut off a lot of talented players that either went from being starters to backups or from backups to no longer playing. And so I think the quarterback play was better. And I think, like you just said, your conversation with Larry Roundtree kind of gets at the heart of why they're doing this. When you see guys like Adrian Martinez and Matt Corral play in this league instead of being a backup or a third team guy in the NFL, that's telling you that they value those reps more so than being the backup in the NFL where you're not going to play. How are you ever going to prove that you're capable of playing if you can't get the reps to show that what you can do? And Adrian Martinez has been able to do that with how he played. Now guys can watch him and they have a vision of how he will fit on their team based on how he played against, I think the competition, if you're going to talk in baseball terms, it's like AAA baseball. It's like go and watch the Tacoma Rainiers play. There's guys that played in the league that are now kind of on their way down, and there are guys that are on their way up and ascending, and they kind of meet in the middle to form this, this minor league football. So the speed isn't the same as the NFL, and it shouldn't be because the caliber of athletes aren't the same. But you do have, a handful of guys that you watch and you're like, that's probably an NFL player.
Yeah. There's some guys that'll be out there. The tight end I thought was pretty Jace
Sternberger. Yeah, and he's had a couple opportunities. His problem is he's not a good blocker, and so he's had problems sticking in the league because of the physicality and what you're being asked to do as an inline tight end, and he probably doesn't have enough juice to be a movement tight end. So he's a great player in the UFL. He could play another 3-4 years and make some money.
Yeah. So that was kind of my take on the USFL or UFL.
You went to more games than I did.
Yeah, covering it well. They were here in Birmingham. Covering it was pretty cool. They got this brand new stadium here.
So one last thing on the UFL. I'm sorry. The one thing I will say is they need to do a better job of building the fan base in the home markets, and I think that's the next step, the next evolution for that product is it can't just be St. Louis fans, only people showing up to watch in person. They have to do a better job of marketing in those home markets. And then I think ultimately what they want is, franchise ownership of those individual teams to be able to stand on their own.
So one thing I found very interesting, extremely interesting. I actually did a story on this. Is the first game of the season here in Birmingham. Also, on that same day, they had Alabama had a day was their Alabama's practice game, red-white game. The football team, University of Alabama, they had University of Alabama had a softball game and a baseball game on that same day. Now they started at 1:00. The Stallions did. Alabama's A-Day practice started at 12:00, and the baseball games were later on in the evening. So if you were in Tuscaloosa, you could have went to the practice game and then to either the softball or baseball game. But they had a house full at the Stallions game. I ended up talking to people because the question I wanted to get answered now, they won the championship last year, so that kind of helped the scenario that they're coming back to unveil their championship banner, if you will. But why would you choose this game over going to Alabama, the baseball game, either baseball, softball game, or the college football game? And I found out that cats drove in from North Carolina to watch the Birmingham Stallions. Some of that was legacy from way back in the day. Older cats our age that had seen them play back in what was mid 90s, late 80s, early 90s. They were coming back because they wanted to support the Stallions. They supported them then. They had the old jerseys that came back to support them then. So I found that was very strange. So it was when you talk about support, they want the cities to do more marketing within the city. They can do some more marketing in the city, but this became like a regional game versus city of Birmingham game, and that's what they need because obviously a ton of people here. But that was just interesting. That is something I pulled out of there. Why I brought you on? Is obviously you cover NFL, and the NFL is coming up, so I know you're kind of thinking about kind of what's going on and kind of re-looking at your notes from the draft and from minicamp. What would you say? What are your top stories? Now I got my top stories going into the season. What would be your top stories that Fox Sports is working on?
I think, if we're looking from a league-wide perspective, I think you have to start with the Chiefs. They're the defending champs. Can they be the first team that three-peats? It's going to be something that, people are going to pay attention to and follow throughout the year. I think along with that, Aaron Rodgers moves the needle nationally. So people are going to be interested to see what happens. Hey, you roll your eyes, but I mean, that's going to be a national storyline is how he comes off the Achilles. Are the Jets for real? What crazy thing is Aaron Rodgers going to say next? Can he still play at 40? I mean, I think that's the real question.
I can answer that question right now for the fans. Jets won't make the playoffs. There you have it. You heard it here first in July.
Like a true Miami Dolphin fan.
Well, I mean,
are they going to pay? Well, that's another story. Are they going to pay your boy Tua?
No.
I think they got to pay him.
If
Trevor Lawrence is making $55 million a year, certainly Tua can get broken off.
It's looking ugly, but okay. So the Jets, I don't think. What's the score of this game? It's just I'm gonna tie this two together here right now. The USA versus Canada, it's 50-45 in the third quarter, midway through the third quarter. So it's a 5-point game, right? They haven't
USA is up.
USA is up by 5, so they haven't ran away with it.
Yep.
You can't just throw a collection of superstars together and expect everything to click. We don't see that happen very often. And this guy, Mr. Ayahuasca, who
the Bucks did it, Brady, Gronk.
That defense that they were playing with had been together for some time.
So right? The Jets defense.
No, goodness gracious. That defense they had been together for some time. The quarterback before Tom Brady came down there, weaseled his way onto the field. He threw 40 touchdowns and 40 interceptions. If they sent Geno Smith, and I'm asking you about Geno Smith in a little bit, if Geno Smith goes down there and doesn't throw 40 interceptions, they're going to make the playoffs on that statistic alone. Let alone the guy's going to come in there and throw less than 10 single-digit interceptions.
You're saying the team was solid,
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it wasn't a pile; it was a collection. They brought a couple players, the tight end from the throw to, the receiver for them to throw to. It wasn't a collection. It wasn't a pile talent like the Jets are just trying to mash together.
Did you forget AB was on that team?
No, I said his receiver. I said brought in his receiver. Okay, brought in the tight end to run a couple routes. We'll call a couple plays for you. Run the receiver aside on the opposite side of one of the most consistent receivers the NFL has seen. Like, come on, somebody.
Leonard Fournette. I mean, come on now. They went out there and signed a bunch of dudes. I mean, you got to be honest about it. I mean, the defense kind of was intact, but on offense, they threw a bunch of people up and made it work.
Are you comparing?
Well, I mean, you just said that dream teams don't work, and I'm saying, well, maybe it's depends on the circumstance. You can go back to the Eagles. Eagles said that was going to be a dream team. Obviously, that didn't work. With when Vince Young was on that team, and I forget whoever else was on there. You can look at what the Rams did. The Rams added premium players and made it work. They went and traded for Von Miller. They traded for Jalen Ramsey. They added Eric Weddle in the playoffs. I mean, they threw some pieces together. And so I guess what I would say is it depends on the coach, and can the coach create a culture around those big name premium players and bring them all together and make it work. So far, Robert Salah has proven that he hasn't been able to do that.
Oh, really? Okay. So I'm not high on the Jets just because, I mean, you can't bring this old guy who coming from nowhere, played 4 snaps last season, and now all of a sudden he plays 4 snaps, and we expect him to just rebound off an Achilles heel, which we know in most leagues, in most sports, that's kind of a death knell. But we're all of a sudden we're expecting this guy just to heal this ayahuasca, just to heal him up, and then them right into the playoffs. Huh? I don't know that's going to happen.
I'm not saying it is, but you're asking me about national storylines.
Sure.
And certainly that's
one I did not have. That's one I did not have on my list. I
don't know how you couldn't have him on. He plays in New York.
Because I already know what's
New York's the number one media market in the United States.
Fair enough. Although I can already predict the story, but that's a very good point, and that's why we have guys like you on the show, Eric, so you can straighten me out when I'm wrong. I'm sorry, so I cut you off. You gave me the Chiefs. You gave me the Jets. Tua being a third story. Tua.
Brandon Ayuk, if he's going to sign before is he going to get paid? Obviously, Dallas and what they're going to do with CeeDee Lamb and Dak and the defensive end, Micah. How that's going to work out. Are they going to be able to bring that all together, and are they going to be a playoff team again? Dallas always tracks nationally. There's always interest in what's going on there. Your boy Russell Wilson, is he going to be able to get it done with the Steelers? I think that's an interesting storyline. Is he going to get his spot jacked by Justin Fields, which I think is probably going to happen by week 8, personally.
By week 8, you said?
I think week 8, Russell's going to be holding clipboard, to be honest.
Ooh, week 8. Ooh, okay. I think Cleveland was saying something similar.
I think he's got 8 weeks to make it happen. And if it doesn't happen, then they're going to move on.
They're going to move on, or just let the rest of the season ride out. I mean, I don't see them trading them. They're not going to trade them.
They're going to let Russ rust, and they're going to don't play Justin, because Justin's got too much juice.
That's funny. One thing I didn't hear you say there. Couple things.
Caleb Williams. I mean, you got to throw Caleb in there. Obviously, number 1 overall pick. Just off the top of my head, different teams. To me, I think, what Kyler does in that offense is interesting. Just to me, covering the NFC West, having been around that team a little bit. They got Marvin Harrison. I think they're kind of under the radar, although I think people nationally are starting to kind of realize that this may be a team that, I don't know if they're necessarily a playoff team, but I do feel like they're a team that can maybe go from 4 wins last season to 7 or 8 wins and kind of be right around 500 with the ability to make another step in 2025. I think they'll be competitive.
That is one of the storylines I had, but I had it was as I was more interested in how Harrison was going to impact this team more so than Kyler. I mean, Kyler needs some help, obviously, but how will Harrison impact the team?
I I had a chance to go down there for rookie minicamp. They weren't doing a whole lot, but just physically watching him, my jaw was dropped because I'd never seen anybody that tall, big, moving that quick. I mean, it's unreal, like his movement skills for how big he is, because he's 6'4", 220. Like he looks like a DN. You know, like back in the day, you used to look at Cam Chancellor and you'd be like, wow, Cam's like a safety, but he looks like he was just as big as the DNs, you know. And when you watch Marvin on the field, it's similar. You watch him, you go, man, he looks like if he put on 10, 20 more pounds, he'd be a tight end. Like he wouldn't be a receiver. It's almost like when Julio Jones first came in the league, and you just like, man, like Julio Jones is just, you couldn't guard him because he's so big, but he was really fast too. And so to me, that's going to be the uniqueness of Marvin in the NFL, his size, and then his suddenness for how big he is as an X receiver. You know, he's go ahead.
Is he closer to Larry Fitzgerald than his predecessor, the senior?
He's faster than Larry. He's faster than Larry. He might not be as strong as Larry, because I think that's what Larry was so good. He was so strong at the catch point, but he's faster and more explosive than Larry was, in my opinion. I think Larry's probably a better route runner, you know. Larry was more of an inside receiver, especially later in his career, where he's a true put him on the edge and let him go to work.
Interesting. Okay. So yeah, that's what I had the Cardinals on my list, but I was more looking to see, is he going to elevate Kyler's career? Is he going to take these guys to the next level? Jalen Daniels, the Commanders quarterback.
Yeah.
What do you expect from him? What do you expect from him? They had some tools. I mean, they kind of depleted their defense, not only last year, but the year before. But they had some decent tools. They just hadn't had a quarterback in the last, 5 years? What do you think of the Commanders and his impact, or the impact he could have?
I like the pairing with DQ, and I think DQ will know how to handle him, you know, because he was there in Seattle when Russell first got there. And I think he understands how to handle young players. And so I think that's a good pairing. They have some pieces on offense. I still think they're probably a year or two away. I'm concerned a little bit with Kingsbury and how that offense will pair with his skill set, you know, in terms of the spread system. You know, Anthony is there as their run game coordinator. They got Eckler. They should be able to run the ball a little bit to create balance. I just felt like watching Kingsbury coach Kyler in that system that he had. I didn't feel like it provided a whole lot of options and enough innovation and unpredictability. I thought it was pretty stagnant. Like you kind of knew pre-snap what they were going to try to do. And I'm interested to see if he's going to change up the offense a little bit, you know, to kind of fit, you know, his skill set.
You think out there, you think Tua's due a big bag, huh?
I don't think they have a choice. I mean, it's the same way I feel about the Rams. Like they have to pay Stafford. Who else is going to play behind him? Like, you know, Garoppolo's suspended the first 2 games, so you're not going to roll Stetson Bennett out there. So you got to get in the bag. Like, who's behind Tua? I don't even know who the backup is. Who's the backup?
Yeah. Well, that's
it's what's his name, right? Is Bridgewater the backup still?
No, he's not there. To be honest with you, I don't know who the backup is.
Come on, this is your squad, man.
I don't know who the backup is, to be honest with you.
I guess that's more motivation to pay him if you don't even know who the backup is.
So here's my thing with Tua. I got to see it again. He made 17 games last season. Kudos to him. Congratulations. But Eric, they were 1-5 against playoff teams. 1-5.
When's the last time Dak won a playoff game?
And that's why Dak hasn't got paid either.
How many playoff games has Trevor Lawrence won?
Well, he won the one game against.
How many playoff games has Justin Herbert won? It's the going rate for a quarterback. I mean, that's just what you're paying. It is what it is. I mean, you know, if you want a legitimate quarterback and you want to have a chance to at least make the playoffs,
legitimate quarterback though? Is he a legitimate quarterback?
He was in the MVP conversation for, you know, half of the year.
5 weeks, 5-6 weeks.
He works well in that system. He gets the ball out quick. You know, you're just in trouble if you got to go play in cold weather in December, January. So you better get home field advantage.
And we're gonna be in that same situation this year, looking at the schedule. And
they better win the East. If they win the East and they get those games at home, then they got a shot.
They had a chance to win and not go to KC. Everybody knew it going into the game. You beat Buffalo, you play Buffalo again the next week at home, or you lose and you go to KC. Right. That was on the table. We knew that going in before they kicked off, and they just got trounced by Buffalo. It was they didn't show.
I can't remember. Was that game in Buffalo or Miami?
No, they were. It was in Miami. They would have played the next game. They would have played the next game.
They can't. They did
that's
themselves.
But
I mean, they were also they were injured too going into those last
late in
couple
the season.
games.
Yeah, late in the season.
They're playing a lot of backups.
It was backup. Are the Lions for real? This is something else I want to see this season. Are the Lions?
Yeah. Lions are legit. You know, I'm not a Jared Goff guy. I'm not. You know, I to me, you know, again, as another guy, you just paid a lot of money, and I get it. But you know, 3rd and 5, and you need to play. Is Jared Goff going to run for a first down? No. I mean, that's not good. He's not going to be able to do that.
He's a quarterback. He throws for the first down.
Well, sometimes, you know, the pass rush comes and you got to get out. I mean,
yeah, he's a little
everybody's
slow.
an athlete out there. Is Jared an athlete?
No, he's a quarterback.
No, he's not.
That's what I'm on St. Brown is for. I'm on Raw St. Brown. That's why he's out there to catch.
But I like the way they're built, and you know, they have playmakers on offense. They have a good defense. I like Campbell as a coach. Yeah, you know, they're solid. I don't think they're going to get beyond the divisional round if they make the playoffs, but you know, they have some good pieces.
So Cleveland likes that. Cleveland agrees with you there. Cleveland might not even have them making the playoffs this season.
Tough division.
Yeah, I still got them winning. I think Green Bay is going to come in behind them.
Green Bay's winning that.
You got Green Bay beating the Lions for the division?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I like Green Bay. I don't know that they're going to beat the Lions, though. I like Green Bay. I really like Love. I was surprised that he started off so slow, but once he got going, he looked really well. Can Caleb Williams? Now that Caleb Williams, they got a collection of talent. They've been rebuilding that squad there. They bring in a Dunze. I think Cleveland, you got your Dunze jersey yet?
It's on the way. Oh, it's ordered.
See, Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen going to see a sort of a revival here, probably until November or October, November, whenever the first ice storm comes.
When it gets cold.
That might be the end of the revival. But I think he's gonna. By that time, he will have coached up those receivers to be productive. What do you think? What do you think of their chances? I've heard some people have them in the playoffs. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think they got a shot to hover around 500 potentially. My concern with Caleb is I think if they get off to a good start, I think he'll be okay. But if they go 1-3, 1-4, and they struggle, how is he going to handle that? Like, I don't know if he's built for those kind of press conferences. And you know, the media at Chicago don't play. Like they will get after him, and he's going to be able to have to sit up there and answer those tough questions. And also, you know, how is he going to handle the locker room situation where it seems like a lot of those guys were Justin Fields fans and really liked the mentality and how he was as a player in terms of his personality, you know, how he carried himself. So, you know, Caleb's different now. I mean, he's a unique dude. So I'm interested to see when things start to not go well, how he handles it. Is he able to work through adversity and still, you know, continue to perform? You know, a lot of people forget, like, you know, Russell Wilson's rookie year wasn't smooth. Like, there was a point where they were considering replacing him with Matt Flynn. And he needed to play well, particularly that New England game. And that was the one that kind of pushed him over. But before that, I mean, it was somewhat rocky. And, Caleb, as good as he is, he's playing in the NFL and he's going to have some rough spots. And, I'm interested to see how he handles it.
Well, in his first, they have a bye week in week 7. He goes Tennessee, Houston, Indianapolis, the Rams, Carolina, and Jacksonville. So he has a favorable schedule to get started with. I mean, they should be 4-2.
There's 3 or 4 L's there.
3 or 4 L's. Houston, they're not going to beat Houston. The Rams probably not going to beat the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
And Carolina, they should beat Carolina, right? The Colts. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the Colts.
I don't think they'll beat Indy.
You like the Colts? I'm not sure about the Colts.
Is that in Indy or Chicago?
At Indy.
Yeah, that's an L.
Really? So you got them go 1-2 then, because they'll beat Tennessee, lose to Houston, lose to Indy, now and then go to and then welcome the Rams.
So what if they lose to Tennessee?
Oof. Yeah, if they lose to Tennessee, that's a bad start right there.
That's what I'm saying.
And then we have some concerns.
They'll be talking about him for sure.
So yeah, Caleb, and obviously we're looking at Caleb. Jalen Williams, I'm very curious to see how he does. But one thing I didn't hear you talk about was Jim Harbaugh. What's the Harbaugh impact in Harbaugh affecting Los Angeles with the Chargers? Harbaugh's known to run the ball. They brought in some players to run the ball. He wants to get tougher on the offensive line, which makes sense. The line of scrimmage would make sense. I don't see Harbaugh trying to throw the ball all over the field, and I don't think they have the receivers to throw it all over the field. But we know Harbaugh is not quarterback whisperer. Might not be the best terminology, but he's had good success with quarterbacks. I don't see it any different here. What's your anticipation with these guys? Do they have the talent to do what he wants to do? I guess that's probably the bigger question.
Yeah. Actually, yesterday, Cleve and I were kind of going back and forth, talking about Harbaugh and their situation with the Chargers. I think a couple things. I think the first thing is Harbaugh has brought competency to that organization and has kind of created space so that he can go and do his own thing and kind of gotten the family out of the football business a little bit. He's the guy in charge that's setting the tone and creating the culture for not only what's happening in football, but what's happening in the building overall. And so because of that, I think it eliminates a lot of the distractions that have maybe been in there in the past for other head coaches, whether it was Brandon Staley or Anthony Lynn or even Mike McCoy, when they were back in San Diego. So you understand who they are in terms of their identity on the football field. They're going to run the football. They're going to be hard-nosed. They're going to be physical. They're going to play good defense. They're going to try to limit mistakes, just kind of old school ground and pound football that we grew up watching, in the 70s or 80s. He's the son of a football coach. And so I think when you do that, it creates clarity for your players. Like they kind of know and understand what the expectations are and what their roles are, clearly defined roles for what you're asking each one to do. And everything is being echoed from Harbaugh down to his assistants, to the leaders of the team, to the rest of the team. And so I think when you have that clarity of your culture and who you are in terms of your identity, you can go out and play and be successful. And so, he's won wherever he's went, whether it was in San Diego, Stanford, Niners, Michigan. All he does is go out and win games. He all he cares about, it seems like, is coaching. So he's not distracted there. He has one of the best quarterbacks, in my opinion, in the league. I know that's somewhat debatable because he hasn't really won on a scale that we expect that's commiserate to the talent that he has. But they're going to be playing an easier schedule. I think that works in his favor. So yeah, like I told Cleve, I expect him to go out there and win between 9 and 12 games. That's what he does. I think his first season in San Francisco, did they win 11? I can't remember how many, but I mean, they just went out there and just started smacking people. I mean, those are the kind of guys he brings in. And the one thing I'll say about the Chargers,
I'm serious. I know. I'm wondering if they can run the ball. Who they brought? They brought in Edwards to run the ball.
Yep.
They brought in Edwards. Okay, Edwards has been primarily a third down back.
We were just talking about this yesterday, right, Cleve? Like, who's going to run it? You know, do you really trust the running backs? And what I would say is talk to any of the Seattle defenders when Harbaugh was coaching at San Francisco, and they didn't know where the runs were coming from. You know, they didn't know who was going to be trapped, whether it was going to be the guard trapping them, tight end trapping them, the tackle trapping them. They could run.
Didn't he have Frank Gore? Did he was Gore?
But he also had like just random dudes running the football and getting 100 yards. It wasn't just Gore that was eaten on that team. It was other guys as well. Yes, he did have Frank Gore. Frank's special. Frank's gonna be in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. But it was other guys that were successful as well. And then when you look at Baltimore, you know, they didn't have like, you know, Jamal Lewis back then. They had, you know, 2, 3, 4 guys that were getting touches and being successful. So to me, I feel like they have a wide diversity of run game that they can use week in and week out, depending on matchups, and that they know is successful.
Okay, that's interesting. We're gonna see when you get rid of Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams has been kind of injured, so he was on the team for 5 years, but probably played 2.5 because he was out with injuries. That's a lot of experience from the wide receiver bunch. Johnson has a lot to make up for his rookie year. We'll see if that. I heard a lot about the kid from Georgia. Isn't he a second generation? Isn't he a second generation player, McConkey? So he might be put in position. McConkey, he would not no relation to
I
Phil?
don't think he's related to the guy that played for the Giants.
Okay, all right. So anyway, I've heard some good things from him, and I believe he'll get the opportunity because I don't believe that receiving core is deep at all. So I believe he'll have some opportunity to shine. So be interested to see how that situation goes. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see. Cleveland, what you got, man?
Yeah, I got a very interesting question for you, Eric, because I think that I've kind of heard you touch on this on the Wyman and Bob show before, but I'm not 100% sure. And since we've been kind of going back and forth, I want a little bit more clarity. You spoke to what, and again, I will also start this by saying I usually don't talk about culture all that much to that.
Oh boy! Oh no! Don't do it! Don't do it! Don't do it!
You were talking about the difference in kind of what Harbaugh brings to the building for the Chargers organization. Mm-hmm. So being a Seahawk fan and going through the whole tenure of Pete Carroll, it seemed like it came to an end because his message got very stale. He was a nicer version of George Karl, wherein he knew exactly what he was going to do, and he wasn't going to make any adjustments, and he was particularly loyal to certain players, and they kind of always followed that because they always kind of knew what was going to happen because they always did the same thing. Extremely, incredibly predictable. The organization decided that they didn't want to do that anymore because the results were typically 9-8 the last couple of years. And although that's, they made the playoffs 2 years ago, but not last year, it was like they felt like they were kind of, stuck in the mud, so to speak. So they make the adjustment and they go and get McDonald. And from all of the accounts that I've heard, it's been like a breath of fresh air. Everyone is on board with his innovative style. And they bring Grubb over from UW, and everyone is enamored with this wide open offense and what it can do. But being that McDonald is a rookie coach, do you think that he will get the opportunity to make the mistakes and not succeed preliminarily the same way like someone with a Harbaugh would do? Or do you think that because Harbaugh has that cachet of being a national champion in the college ranks and then also taking, the 49ers to the Super Bowl, so that kind of like it's his way or the highway, it's his word is the gospel, adverse Mike Macdonald being more of like experimentative, so to speak. What do you think that goes?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and it was something I was kind of trying to talk through on the radio. Is he should be given a longer rope because it's really hard to be the guy that follows such a successful coach as Pete, you know. And Mora went through this when he followed Holmgren, and he was already in the building, so that was supposed to be a seamless transition. They gave Mora a year. And, you know, they were 5-7 at some point. They end up going 5-11. Mora does his press conference. We think he's good. Little do we know that Seahawks brass is down there interviewing Pete while all this is going on. And then Mora is asked to move on from his hometown team, his dream job, after just one season. So he didn't – it's NFL football. I mean, it's pro football. There's no guarantee you're going to get that long of a leash. With Harbaugh, I think it's different because of the amount of money that they're paying him. They have to give him 3-4 years because of the amount of money they have tied up into him as an investment. You can't say the same thing about Macdonald, you know, so it's probably shorter. They've tried to give him some tools to help him. I think bringing in Leslie Frazier is big, having a guy that has that experience as a head coach, as a defensive coordinator. I find it a little ironic that it's Leslie, because Leslie was actually the guy, if you guys remember, that they talked to satisfy the Rooney Rule when they hired Pete. They talked to Leslie in a sham interview at the airport. A lot of people forget about that or haven't brought it up. I haven't heard anybody talk about it. So I was kind of surprised that Leslie ended up taking the job, to be honest. But hey, money talks, right? So my thing is everybody that I've talked to in the league, both scouts and coaches, have a lot of praise and high opinion of Macdonald. But he hasn't been a head coach at any level. He brought in an offensive coordinator that has not been an offensive coordinator in the NFL, was successful in college, but you know, when you play in the league, every week is a bowl game because you're going against some of the best defensive minds, you know, ever to coach when you on a weekly basis. Same thing with the D coordinator, has never coached defense. We don't know how Macdonald is going to handle game situations in terms of managing the game and making those kind of decisions. We don't know if he's going to be able to handle being the head coach and calling the defensive plays at the same time. Cam, you saw this with Brandon Staley, you know, great defensive mind. Defense was awful because he couldn't manage calling the defense and then managing the team. That's a big jump. You know, with Pete, we knew that he could do it because he coached the NFL already and he had a lot of success at USC. So there was a track record we could look at. There's no track record we can look at with Macdonald. So my hope is we should not expect them to win 10, 11 games. That's not fair to him. You know, he's a first-time coach. You know, if he wins 7, 8 games, great, good job. You know, laid the foundation. You know,
wait, are we downplaying the talent that's on there? I mean, they got a talented quarterback. I think we're over evaluating the talent. I mean, let's be real. How many Pro Bowlers do they have? Especially on defense. Like, be real. Look at the defense. But it's a young defense. It's a young defense, a young secondary, right? Young defensive linemen. But
how talented are they?
They try to bring in the linebackers, try to bring in a veteran linebacker.
Look at Seattle's defense and look at San Francisco's defense. Who would you trade out?
Well,
that's who they're competing against.
But we're talking about a Super Bowl ready defense versus
that's who they're competing against. It's just like the Chargers. The Chargers are competing against the Chiefs. So you look at their roster and you look at the Chiefs roster. That's who you're trying to beat.
I get that on paper, yes, that makes sense, Eric. But when you look at
that's where we're at, right? This ain't the AFC South. We're not playing in the AFC South. You don't get to play Tampa Bay twice.
Seattle defense versus the Niners defense. They have young players that haven't had a chance to develop and flourish. The Niners
tell me how many players on Seattle's defense could start on San Francisco's defense?
I think just 2.
Maybe the
be honest.
Maybe the corners. I think Weatherspoon and Big Cat.
That's it.
Williams would start,
Yeah.
but other than that, that's probably
maybe Chenna. Maybe Chenna.
So you said something. You said something. Bringing in Leslie Frazier. Does this obviously they have high hope for McDonald, and they want him to do the best he could. But bringing in that protector, if you guys somebody with experience in that makes sense to help him, through the pitfalls of the coaching. If you lose 2 games, kind of, keep him motivated. You still have to go coach some men right here. So you can't be too down on yourself. Would he then not get the credit if they win the 11 games? If they surprise?
He gets the credit. I mean, there's a lot of guys around the league that are brought in advisory roles, just to be another sounding board that have, been coaches. I think with the Raiders, I believe Pierce brought in the guy that used to coach the Bengals, Lewis.
Oh yeah, Marvin Lewis.
Yeah, Marvin Lewis.
And
I think
he knew him.
Jim Caldwell has served in that capacity. I think he was doing that for the Panthers. So it's not uncommon to have that, that advisory roles. Leslie's not coaching the team. I mean, he's more of a sounding board for McDonald to just ask different questions, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a good situation. You want to get them put your guy in the best situation possible, but it's also saying that we're not fully confident that you can do this alone, so we need to give you some help. It's kind of, I guess, a different way to look at it.
I mean, McVay, when he was the Rams, Wade Phillips was their defensive coordinator. So does he not get credit because Wade was the defensive coordinator? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not uncommon for young NFL head football coaches to have veteran guys in there that have kind of been there, done that.
What do you think about Geno? Is this kind of Geno's last gasp, if you will?
I think so. I think this is Geno's year to prove it. Either he's the guy or he's not. I had a lot of respect for Geno. Obviously he was with the Chargers when I covered the team. And, a lot of players again spoke highly of him. And Geno, when you watch him at practice, I mean, he looks like a legit dude. He can sling it. I mean, he's got great arm. He's a pretty good decision maker. But can they protect him enough? And can they unlock some of those deep chunk throws that we know he has ability to execute on a regular basis? They got to get more out of DK. I don't know how they do that. Hopefully Grubb can figure out schematics.
Did you just say DK Metcalf was limited? Did you just say that?
I just think he's such a talented player. They should be getting more out of him on a more consistent basis. And then I think for me, I want to see Jackson emerge as the guy. I think he's the most talented of the 3 that they have out there in terms of being able to.
I certainly agree. I think they got a nice court. I think
separation on a consistent basis.
I think they got.
To me, he's got to get it. Jackson's got to get 8 to 10 targets a game, in my opinion, for them to be successful.
He's ready. This is be his second year. He's ready for that.
Yeah,
he's a first-round pick.
He's more than ready for it.
This is second year, right? Because we're going into his second year, right?
Yeah. Come on now.
You ready to give 8 to 9?
Wait. Did you see Puka Nacua last year? 5th round pick. He seemed like he was ready.
Well, I mean, he was thrusted into
way smoother routes than him, and is
he was thrusted into a situation though. But that was kind of a pass-heavy offense, and their number 1 guy goes down. Are you ready for this opportunity? And he took full advantage of it. Yeah. So yes, I wouldn't consider Seattle's offense a pass-heavy offense, but
you might be changing your mind after week 1.
I mean, Geno, put the ball in Geno. Let Geno cook. Some people don't like Geno behind the iron. I say let Geno cook. But they
get those shirts ready, Cam. Get those shirts ready and show up at the stadium ready to sell those babies.
Okay.
Let Geno cook.
What
Leave on
what
buying
team?
that.
It's being a little too much, Gino. That's not the recipe.
Hey,
What
we'll
teams,
see.
Eric? What teams, Eric? Do you have? This is kind of a weird way to look at things. I'm sure. Do you have underperforming expectations this season?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I have. I
Go ahead.
have the what's going on in Dallas. All the controversies going on, the turmoil. I don't expect them to. I don't expect a 12-5 season out of these guys. I think they may have underperformed. Trevor Lawrence. I've lost confidence in Trevor. I don't think he's going to live up to this contract. We gave him the first year off because you have the coach who didn't really want to coach, and then they turned things around and he turned it around, looked like a real quarterback the second year, and it's been downhill since then. I'm not confident in what he's able to do. Pittsburgh, I have zero confidence in what Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Whether Russell plays the full season, whether he plays half a season, obviously that's a storyline that's interesting. But I think this is where some bias does come in. Tomlin, I think Tomlin's kind of overrated, and we're about to see that this season. That's my
They say it every year.
Okay,
he won with Mason Rudolph, bro.
Yeah, but okay, still, were they 500 last year, and we were happy with that?
I mean,
we're happy with
playoffs last year.
Playoffs last year
with Mason Rudolph. Come on, bro.
I have them on my list of teams that will underperform.
It's your list.
And then my Miami Dolphins. I just don't. Tua played way above expectations last season. Led the league in passing. I don't foresee that happening again this season. The way they won't underperform it is A-Chain has a big second year, but he kind of surprised a lot of people last year, so I don't think he's going to be a surprise this season. So it's going to have to be A-Chain and Mostert kind of carrying the load. And then if Tua's able to play off of them, he obviously has one of the best receivers in the game. He definitely has probably arguably the best receiving core in the game.
You know, he's got more than one.
Yeah, if he's able to play off of that running game and they perform better than I'm expecting, then that's how they won't underperform the season. However, I don't have any faith in what Tua Tagovailoa can do in the Miami Dolphins uniform. That's another reason I wouldn't pay him. Those are my 4 teams that I have underperforming next season: Dallas, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, and Miami. What say you, Mr. Eric?
Eagles off the top. They're being way overhyped. They're going to miss Kelsey in the middle. That's a big deal. I don't think people are saying enough about that. Losing the anchor of your offensive line. And then the fact that you're changing your OC and DC again, I question the leadership. So I think the talent is there. I think Barkley will be fine.
When you say you question the leadership, you're talking about Sirianni or the OCs themselves?
All of it.
Oof.
All of it. You know, I don't know if he's going to be able to get the players to play for him after what happened last year. You know, I think, you know, when you go through a season like that, players lose confidence that you know what you're doing, and then you're changing the OC and DC again. You know, it's kind of like what happened to Staley. Staley, you know, went 9-7, but then they lost that game when they're up 27-0, and he was never able to get the team back. So that would be my concern with Sirianni. So Philadelphia is one. I hate to say it, but Houston is being hyped, man. I mean, Houston's talented. I like their squad. But I just don't know if I see them as a team that can actually compete to represent the AFC. I don't know if they're there yet. And so I could see them kind of backsliding a little bit.
But the division is kind of is kind of soft. So if you win your home game in the division, you're right there.
I think Indy's going to be better than maybe people think they're going to be. I think, you know, Jacksonville, I think that's fair. You know, I do feel like Trevor Lawrence is is up and down, is not as consistent as he needs to be. So yeah, and then Carolina, obviously with Canales, I like Canales a lot as a coach. I hope he's able to move the needle there, but he's got an uphill climb with that organization. And then lastly, I think I'll say the Broncos, just because Sean Payton's supposed to be the second coming, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get it done with that quarterback situation.
I mean, no, no.
But I mean, he's playing in a city where they expect him to win. I mean, Denver is low key, a tough place to coach because it's all about the Broncos in that town, and people were starting to not come to games, and that's an issue for that franchise, and how much they spent. So he better figure it out quick.
I mean, yeah, I don't. They may have already seen their ceiling. I don't know. I don't think he's not going to be able to rebound after getting ready.
I got two quick teams, fellas. Tell me what you think. I'm not 100% sure the Buffalo Bills are going to make the playoffs this year. I think losing all of those receivers and all of that attrition on defense is going to eventually catch up with them, and I think this might be the year.
You didn't like Stephon Diggs. You didn't think he was.
I know, and he's gone, and so is Gabe Davis, and I like the young rookie. I like his enthusiasm, but he is a rookie. So, and that's right now Josh Allen's number one receiver. So I feel regression coming from them, and I don't think Detroit is going to get back to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit of regression there, even though they were able to retain their offensive coordinator, who was supposed to be this hot up and coming head coach, and they retained their quarterback, signed Amon-Ra, all that cheese, and they have that two-headed running attack with Jameer and Montgomery. Aiden Hutchinson is a beast, but I just don't.
Where did they regress? Where did they fall off?
Strength of schedule and expectation. Before they were like, the lovable underdogs, and everybody, made the playoffs, and this is, this great feel good story. But we're past the feel good part, and it's about trying to get back to where they were. And I feel they're just going to come up a little bit short. I still think they're going to make the playoffs, but I don't foresee them being in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, come on, man. It's Detroit, Cam. It's what they do.
Listen to you guys. No, I think they're right there. They have what they need, what you need to win. I mean, they play. They can rush the quarterback, and their defensive on the backside. They can slow. They try to outscore them right now. If they could slow some people down a little bit more, they can defend the pass a little bit more. They'd be obviously much better. But they have on the offense, they have the receiving core that you need, and they have a running game. They have a good offensive line. You ask if Goff can run for the first down. Well, Goff has a lot of weapons out there that if he knows how to utilize the weapons, he'll be okay. I don't see. I mean, if they don't make the NFC Championship, if they lose in the second round of the playoffs, sure, it's a regression because you didn't make the Super Bowl. But that's not I don't think that would be a bad season for them. But it is, the progression would get to the Super Bowl. Can they make that? I don't think so. I think San Francisco has that locked up. Eric, do you see? Back to the original question, the original thing that you're looking for this season. Do you see the Chiefs three-peating? Excuse me. Will we see our first three-peat that we NFL fans see the first three-peat of our lifetime?
No, I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's too hard. I think too many things have to go right for them to make it back there again, and not only make it back, but to win it. I mean, last one they won in overtime, and a lot of things had to go right for that to happen. Everybody has to stay healthy, and so I just don't see that happening again. I think Bengals, man.
I would like to see a Bengal resurgence. I would not be mad at that. However, let me rebut your opinion there. If the Chiefs had the worst season we've seen Patrick Mahomes play as a starting quarterback in the NFL last year, and they won the Super Bowl, I don't see Patrick Mahomes having another stinker. Now, granted, the receiving core wasn't up to par. I think they got better receivers this year, and the guys who performed or who played halfway decently are coming back for another year. So I think I mean, I'm gonna have to stick it with the Chiefs. It's gonna be a great season, but the Chiefs are head and shoulders above the rest of the league, I would suspect.
Yeah, I mean, Mahomes wasn't great statistically, but when he needed to play well, he balled out. I mean, I was at that game when they played the Dolphins, and it was like -10, and I couldn't believe how
you was up in KC. You was
What's
up
that?
in KC. You were up.
Yeah,
there
I was at that game. I mean, it was the coldest I've ever been in my life. I mean,
that is super duper brave. Wow.
I mean, I've never been that cold in my life. I was out there when the tailgate, and I was out there for about 15 minutes, like taking photos and stuff. And I was like, okay, I gotta go inside. I'm good. You know, my fingers about to freeze.
But again, that's to my point. To my point, they rise up in those situations where, I mean, the quarterback who's on, he wasn't in the rhythm late in the season, but that offense who had been humming, you know, they came up and just froze. They froze in the ice.
Well, you're right about Tua, that again speaks to why you're not willing, you know, to say give him the bag, and I get it. Yeah. But in terms of Mahomes, even Brady had bad games, and I think at some point Mahomes is going to show that he's human. We're still, you know, waiting for that to happen.
Yeah,
but you know, I mean, I think it's going to happen at some point this year where a team is going to rise up and be good enough to beat them.
Yeah, I mean, if the Bengals were waiting on the Bengals, this is kind of an all or nothing year for them because with their receiving core.
And Burrow is that dude. Burrow wants that smoke.
I believe
Burrow loves that.
I believe in Burrow, but again, you got to have some help. You got to have some help there, and they got the last year with Higgins, so this would be their last year with the two stud receivers, Chase and Higgins. So yeah, they'll have some pressure on them to get it done. So I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing that. Think about what else you got, man.
On the NFC side of things, is it just San Francisco as the favorite, and everyone else is just trying to catch up for the most part? I don't really see anyone that's made enough adjustments. You kind of spoke to kind of what the Eagles' issues would be as far as perhaps losing the team from a leadership perspective, and also the changing of the coordinators. I've come out and said that I think Detroit is kind of that was kind of like their as good as they're going to get kind of situation. Is there anyone other than San Francisco that you see that kind of has a chance to come out of the NFC and represent the NFC in the Super Bowl?
Go ahead and ask a question like you want to ask a question. Is Brock Purdy that dude? Can he lead them to another?
You already know I don't.
Go ahead, answer that question.
You already know that I don't think that. Because you already know that I don't think that. I don't give airtime to Brock Purdy. That's your thing. Okay. I said the San Francisco 49ers as a whole. Okay. Which we all can agree is the favorite
led by Brock Purdy.
They have Deebo Samuel and Christian Jackson McCaffrey on their team. So the question then is, other than them, who do you think would has the best opportunity to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, for me, I think it's the Rams. I think it's within their division.
Oh wow!
I think the Rams know how to play that team. McVay knows how to match up with Shanahan. And I think if they stay healthy, their ability to run the football, which, people don't talk about that enough. San Francisco struggled to stop the run last year. And the Rams will be able to run it. And the Rams will know how to get into matchups that they want to take advantage of San Francisco's weaknesses in the secondary. They'll try to play keep away, to keep the ball away from San Francisco's offense. The key, obviously, is you lose Aaron Donald. How are they going to be able to consistently create pass rush to make Purdy uncomfortable and also to stop McCaffrey up front from doing his thing? So Kobe Turner is the guy. Nobody from that organization wants to put all the pressure on Kobe, but they're going to be asking Kobe to do a lot of the things that Aaron was asked to do.
Can he fill that void?
We're going to see. We're going to see. He had 9.5 sacks last year. And he's not going to play nose. He's going to play 3-tech. They drafted Jared Verse and Brandon Fisk, who, to me, I think they would like those two to do what Justin Smith and Alden Smith did for the 49ers. If you remember, when those guys had it going, they were able to play a lot of games. Justin Smith would take two guys, and that would free up Alden to come off the edge, or they would loop them underneath. They really had good chemistry together. And I think the Rams are hoping that Fisk and Verse have that already because they played together at Florida State and showed a little bit of that. Along with those two, you have, Young coming back, who had a good year last year. And then, Kobe, to me, is the key. And a good linebacker, too, that plays behind him. I think a Pro Bowl caliber linebacker.
I actually heard we need to keep our eye on those two D tackles from Florida State, and that they may actually take the league by surprise. I actually heard that, which, Florida State did have a number one defense, they were number one through most of a big part of the season last college football season. They just lost their quarterback. That's the reason they didn't make the playoffs. So
yeah, a lot of players get drafted.
Yeah, we'll keep our eye on that, Eric. Eric, I want to ask you from a standpoint, and this could be a personal question that I'm asked online. Well, personal, I say personal, that I personally would want to know, but maybe enlighten the fans. Obviously, you cover the NFL for Fox Sports. Going into the season, what is your approach to the season, and how do you talked about being at the KC Dolphins game? So what is your general approach to the season, and then how do you plan your coverage throughout the season? Can you touch on that? Share as much as you can. I don't know if you can divulge everything, but just share as much as you could. What's your approach to the season, and then also start off by letting the people know where they can find you and they can follow you throughout the season.
Sure. You can find me on Twitter at Eric_D_Williams. You can find my work at foxsports.com. And but again, appreciate you guys for having me on. My approach to the season, changes year to year depending on what I feel like are the major storylines that I'm going to be covering, both within the NFC West and nationally. And I try to identify, 6 to 8 major stories that I want to take on and write about, and then pursue those. And then in terms of the season itself, I'll probably travel to 6 to 7 different games outside of the Los Angeles area. I'm probably going to go to Arizona a couple times. I'll be going up to the Bay Area to see the Niners. I will make it up to Seattle to see the Seahawks. Hopefully it's that Week 6 game against San Francisco, which I think is a Thursday night game. And then a lot of the games I'll just be in LA, whether it's the Rams or the Chargers. And so, it could change on a week-to-week basis depending on what happens. Like the second half of the year, if a team is down that maybe I thought it's going to be better, then maybe I'll change where I'm going to be from week to week. But mostly it's just kind of identifying, major stories that I can kind of dig into, and provide, readers with a unique perspective.
So, okay. So then that was a great way to start the show off by asking you what are your top stories of the NFL season, because you kind of told us where you're going. So fans, you got to hit the rewind button to find out what his plan is. So if Cincinnati, as an example, you said it could change in the second half of the season. So Cincinnati they go 9-0. Now all of a sudden you want to get out there and talk to Burrow, talk to T. Higgins, and see what's going on. Right.
A great example was last year. We weren't expecting the Rams to be any good, after coming out that 5-12 year, and then all of a sudden Puka blows up in that first game. And now people want to know, well, where did this Puka Nacua guy come from? And I was able to go talk to the Rams receiver coach, Eric Yarber, just kind of, what's Puka's origin story? How did you find out about him? And talking to Yarber, I was able to understand that he had talked to TJ Houshmandzadeh, who he had coached in college at Oregon State, and Hoosh actually worked with Puka during the pre-draft process. And so they were able to have some inside intel about Puka. And then Puka played at University of Washington, and the former head coach at Washington was on Rams staff. So they had intimate knowledge about Puka going into it and how he would fit into the offense. And I think, again, those are the kind of things that you're trying to give readers, kind of unique perspective on how this guy blew up.
That's awesome. Man. Let's give Eric a round of applause. like I say, Eric has always been a good guy to me. I appreciate his leadership, his wisdom, and his calm demeanor. Now I understand there's another guy in the house out there that might not appreciate it so much there and ready to take Eric to task, but we'll have to follow up with that story and see how that's going.
Hey, I got that guy under control. Stiff, a little stiff arm, and he's good.
Well, once again, Eric, I want to thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in to the Voice of the Fans. This is show 300. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time, man. And we'll hit you up on Twitter, and we'll get you before the season starts just to see if your schedule has changed or how your schedule has changed. How about that?
Hey, that sounds good. I look forward to it. I appreciate y'all, man. Have a good one. Awesome. And congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Cleveland, you need a little break, man, or you want to speed through the show?
Let's get to it.
Man, we missed our numbers game at the beginning of the show. Do we need to go back to our numbers game? We jumped in. We just had guest after guest, so I think it was
guest. The 300. Yeah, that was that's quite surprising to have so many cameo appearances. But yeah, we can do the numbers real quick.
Numbers game, Cleveland, June 10th, 2024, week 300. Cleveland. Wow, week 300. We fans, just for those of you who's been a part of the show much longer than 300. It's 300 on this platform. We was doing this before then, but we got to this platform. This is week 300. And this Cleveland, this doesn't even count our Sunday brunch specials that we do as well. So this is 300 of this episode of Voice of the Fans podcast. So again, friends, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Give yourselves a round of applause. Typically every week we start off with our numbers game. And again, with it being July 10th, 2024, week 300, Cleveland, when you think of the number 10, who comes to your mind first, or who wore that jersey number the best?
You know, because this football season, or you know, getting rounding into football season time, person that comes to mind first is Jim Zorn, because I hear his commercials all the time on sports talk radio. Who wore it the best? I'm gonna have to say Pele.
Pele, not a bad answer. I had Herbert was the first person that actually came to my mind. Justin Herbert, obviously because of NFL season coming up quickly approaching, and you know, we expecting big things from Herbert this year. When you think of the number 0, 000, 0, whatever? I went 0, 00 either way. Who comes to your mind first, or who wore that jersey number the best?
If we're going with the 00, I think of the big man down in Portland, Kevin Duckworth. Used to put in work down there. Who wore it the best? The Chief, Robert Parrish.
Yeah, that's the guy I have. Jeez, Robert Parrish. Duckworth didn't come actually, but that's not a bad pull. Just he wasn't the guy that came from. So good work out of you. That's why we do the show. Yeah. And that's why we pull up these numbers. And somebody else might be just not reminiscing, but just to give a shout out to some of those guys who played and don't get the credit or get the love that a lot of players do today. So that's one of the reasons we play the numbers game. Something else we do that nobody else does, Cleveland, is come up with This Week in History. We give a kind of a history lesson, if you will, just some things that happened in the past that, again, often get forgotten, swept under the rug, or maybe not a lot of people heard about this. Sometimes I give it a situation that I may not even heard of. So I think that's pretty cool that we can educate our fans on just different points of history, and that's what we call This Week in History. 7/13/1863, Cleveland. On his there was a mandatory draft called the Enrollment Act. It wasn't enacted. And it exempted the wealthy and led the draft riots in New York City and other major northern cities. A mob of 50,000 went wild, burning buildings, including black orphanage, leaving over 3,000 blacks homeless. Between 1500 and 2,000 civilians dead, most of them black, and over 800 wounded. This was the Enrollment Act. Have you heard of this? 1863.
I'm not familiar with this at all.
I hadn't heard of this. It was when they They enacted the draft, and then they exempted the wealthy from being drafted into the war. I never heard of that, but that was interesting. 7/14/1891, John Standard from Newark, New Jersey, received a patent for the refrigerator. Cleveland. Where would we be today without Mr. Standard's patent, huh?
Wealthy. Hope his family is still continuously wealthy.
Why don't we have a refrigerator called the Standard? 7/10/1893, Dr. Daniel Hale Williams performed the world's first open heart surgery on a young man named James Cornish. James, who was suffering a stab wound. This happened in Chicago. 7/12/1914, African American inventor F.F. Jones successfully patents the air conditioning unit. Cleveland, you got one of those going today?
Just the one. The second one is en route. Should be.
Wait, Amazon. It should be there tomorrow. That's funny. That's funny. 7/9/1955, E. Frederick Murrow became first African American to serve in an executive position on the United States presidential cabinet for President Eisenhower. 1955. 7/10/1973, the island nation of the Bahamas become independent from the UK. 1973. 7/15/1976, James McGahey is sworn as the first African American mayor of Dayton, Ohio. 7/10/2019, Kawhi Leonard signs with the Los Angeles Clippers to a reported 3-year, $103 million contract.
So they will have paid him $250 million.
Cleveland, 7/10/2022, Novak Djokovic won the fourth straight and record 7th Wimbledon singles title. Is he going to win this year?
He's got a real good chance. The only opposition is Alcaraz, but Alcaraz beat him in the finals last year, so it should be a really exciting match.
7/10/1981, Escape from New York, directed by James Carpenter, starred Kurt Russell and Donald Pleasant, premieres in the U.S. and grosses $6.1 million. 16% of that, that was 16% of their total gross. $6.1 million. 7/10/1981, I shouldn't have told you that. 7/10/1981, on the same day, Walt Disney Fox and the Hound was released. They grossed $4.2 million, which was 9% of their total gross in their opening weekend. 7/10/1965, the Rolling Stones scored their first hit record in the U.S. with "I Can't Get No Satisfaction." You know, you remember that one, right? Cleveland, let's talk WNBA. Clark becomes the first rookie to record a triple-double. Reese has her 13. She now is 14. Double-double. Now, I asked you this question. So, Clark becomes the first rookie to record a double-double. Angel Reese is giving her a run for her money in the first half of the season for the rookie of the year in the WNBA. Now, I asked you before, Cleveland, were her double-double something or nothing? I think you said something, if I'm not mistaken. But today she was 11-10 to get her fourth one. Like, how impressive is that, man? I think she has one of those, maybe two of those games are over 20-point double-double. I don't want to take away from what the girl's doing, but I mean, if we're 13-10, today was 11-10, 14.
Well, I mean, Ken, we spoke on this earlier, right? when we spoke on Michael Jordan and how the statisticians, kind of throw up like,
I'm not saying she did. I'm not saying there's the rebound or
no,
two that she didn't deserve.
No, what I'm saying, and I get your point, it's like they're not all organic, right? Because it is a streak and they're cognizant of it. If she shortens something, it's like they let her know and she like purposely, goes and does that. And so it's not like it just happens in the natural flow of things. And, as the record continues to go on, I mean, anytime she's even close, they're going to, they're going to try and do something to continue with the streak. So, but that in and of itself it diminishes from the effectiveness of it somewhat, but it is still a thing. Yeah.
De La Cruz is on pace for 88 stolen bases this season. This would be the most since 1988. That sounds so wild, doesn't it? I mean, growing up, if you didn't have 100 stolen bases, like that was like you weren't really stealing bases. And so that's why, to that same point of Angel Reese, I was questioning the Canseco 40-40, like 40 home runs. 40 home runs is if you're a home run hitter, you hit 40 home runs in a season. And if you're a base stealer, 40 home runs or 40 stolen bases is not really much of anything, is it? That's like a okay season.
I mean, kind of back in the day, but that rare combination of speed and power had never been seen before. Yeah, that was kind of the whole point.
But yeah, come on. Anyway, De La Cruz, are you excited to see him in the All-Star game next week?
I'm excited that he has an opportunity to be in the All-Star game. It's not really an event that can kind of showcase what he does really well. Hence, you just talked about his stolen base, but he's not going to get on the base pass and steal a bunch of bases. I mean, it's kind of
he'll get a chance to throw somebody out. I mean, he's playing shortstop this season, but if they stuck him up in right field or left field, he'll get to sling that ball, throw somebody out from left field. I mean, that's some impressive things. Cleveland, I know there's several stats in baseball, or a few stats anyway, that I know that you have painted on your ceiling that you revere so much. My man from the Orioles. Why am I having a brain fart on my man from the Orioles? His consecutive game streak.
Cal Ripken Jr. 21-31.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. He looked over. You see him look over his shoulder because it's painted on his wall over there, fans. Cal Ripken Jr. We have Pete Rose consecutive hit streak. What is that?
Joe DiMaggio has consecutive hits, 56.
56. And then Pete Rose, the hit king.
Rose has the national record with 44.
Where does Jose Miranda's 12 consecutive hits rank for you? Not games, just at bats.
Yeah, it's way up there. I mean, incredibly difficult to do. I think I heard the list of the other people. I'd never heard of those guys ever before in my life. So
it hasn't been done in 72 years, Cleveland.
Yeah, that's extremely rare. And, you think about how many great hitters have not come even close to that. So, yeah, that's quite an accomplishment.
Okay, we're going to have to keep an eye on what Miranda's got going out there. Who you got winning the home run derby this season?
Either Vladimir Guerrero or Pete Alonso.
Did you guys talk to Pete yet, or did you make any phone calls?
No, he's talked to Pete, man. He stopped answering our phone calls a long time ago.
Oh wow, because it looks like the Yankees are going to need some hitting. Looks like the Dodgers are going to need some pitching. You guys, Mariners might be they want to be buyers, but they might not have enough money to get some players to upgrade their talent. The last what did I see? I saw it. They're 6-4 their last 10 games. Houston is narrowing that gap. Now they're like 4 games up. They were at one point double digits games up. What's going on?
2 weeks ago, the Mariners were leading the American League West by 10 games. That lead has evaporated to 2. It's fortunate that they were able to sweep the Padres in a 2-game series. Otherwise, it might be even worse. Pitching rich, hitting poor. So, Just because you have historically one of the best pitching staffs in baseball. I mean, if you can't drive in any runs, I watched them play a game. What was it, Saturday, where they left the bases loaded in the 8th and 9th inning, and then 2 runners on in the 10th. So what's that? 8 runners stranded in like 2 innings, 2.5 innings. Terrible.
Cleveland. We all heard about Coco Gauff complaining in Wimbledon about the coaches not helping her out. What could the coaches actually do? Like in the moment, could they do anything in the moment? No. Like now they broke they didn't break the rule. They changed the rule where the coaches couldn't have any communication, which is wild to think they couldn't have any communication with the player during the match. Now they're allowed some communication. Now they can have signs and whatnot. I mean, how are they enforcing no communication with the player? Like the player couldn't look that direction, and the coach couldn't give them a sign.
Serena got in trouble for that. That was the most notable one. Lots of coaches in the past had gotten, kind of in trouble for kind of speculating that they were doing
the building or something, or what?
Yeah, it's. I think Serena lost a point, didn't she? Or at least a warning. But that's neither here nor there. With regards to how they do it nowadays, it's crazy. I think back to, I would just be so annoyed if I had to like listen to my like coach like after every point. That's just like way too much. It's overkill.
Okay.
And so certain players, they seem to gravitate towards it more. I was watching a match today where this is a quarterfinal match where Ostapenko told her coach to leave, like just kicked him out of the coach's box. So, I mean, that was like absolutely crazy. And then, Coco Gauff, like 2 years ago, before she had Brad Gilbert as her coach, like told her coaching box to shut up, like be quiet. So it's like, players get very temperamental out there. It's psychological, it's emotional, and what it is that you can actually, I mean, you can't just say, well, just keep hitting it to their backhand, or hit your serve up the middle instead of hitting it wide. It's not like you're play calling out there, and it's a point by point kind of a thing. So,
but she's an accomplished
your coach, like so much responsibility when it comes to winning a match in the middle of the match.
She's an accomplished player. Isn't some of this like? Doesn't she kind of know what the coach is going to say, or have an idea what the coach?
She should have a very clear idea, because they had a very clear game plan coming into the match. Now, obviously, you have to adjust on the fly, as with anything. If the opponent isn't doing exactly what it is that you thought that they were going to do, or the things that you thought that you were going to be effective at aren't effective, well, then you have to make adjustments. That's fine. But, you can't just be like, tell me what to do. I don't know what to do out here. And you're the number 2 seed, coming off semifinal at the French, won your first Grand Slam last year at the U.S. Open. I mean, yeah, you can't be, pointing fingers at Brad Gilbert.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, Cleveland, it's been fun, man. That's the last thing I want to talk to you about. It's been a blast tonight. Shout out to Cleveland Steele. Cleveland, let the people know where they can find you, man. This has been week 300 of this iteration of the Voice of the Fans podcast. My co-host has been with me for at least 298 of those shows. Cleveland, let the people know where they can find you.
Absolutely. Clevie Wonder on Twitter and TikTok, and Cleveland Steele on Instagram.
Obviously, fans, you guys can catch us here most weeks on the Voice of the Fans podcast. Shout out to Thomas. Let's give Thomas a round of applause for joining us. One half of Hoops and Brews. Let's give a shout out to Champside for joining us to talk some boxing talk. Give you guys some edification in the boxing world. Shout out to everybody in the chat for their participation. Whether you came on with Champside, you came on to talk some hoop, whether you came on to talk football with Eric, give yourself a round of applause for being a part of the show. And then certainly give yourself a round of applause for sticking with us. This has been fun. The show's become very much cathartic. I enjoy bringing you guys the content. I enjoy coaching Cleveland up. See, we got the fans tonight. tonight, you finally heard Cleveland come around on the culture word. You heard him say that. You heard him say the culture word, like culture actually has an impact. So I feel very proud of myself that it's taking some time. It's taking some time, but now he's hoping that Mr. McDonald brings culture to the Seattle Seahawks. And you know, I find that hysterical because he refutes and rebuts and ignores and scoffs and laughs and moans when I bring up the word culture in any sport. He doesn't like that. But now he wants to bring culture to the Seattle Seahawks. Isn't that funny, fans? I find that very hysterical. But I also feel proud that he's finally coming around to understand how that impacts the game. Right, Cleveland? About time, right?
Well, I mean, from a football perspective, for sure.
Now he tried to minimize. Now he tried to minimize the word. I know he hated to use that. He hated to use that, but he couldn't help it because it definitely makes an impact. So once again, I want to give Cleveland a round of applause for being a part of the show. Fans, so you guys got to experience our numbers game. You got to experience our hot list of guest hosts. Make sure you guys give them a like, give them a follow. We played our numbers game for you guys, not at the beginning of the show, but at the middle of the show. We give you some educational pieces in this week in history. And then, fans, another thing I like to do, I like to end the show with a quote to help you guys, give you guys some motivation. We got to give you guys some inspiration, carry on through the rest of your week. This week, my quote is, without hard work, nothing grows but weeds. Without hard work, nothing grows but weeds. So we put in the work for you guys, man. So that's why our followers should be going up. That's why our likes should be going up. That's why I expect you guys now to kind of show us some love with the likes and shares. We're up to like 650 followers, weekly followers, but we're getting 10, 15 likes. Come on, fans, hit us up. All you do is hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that share arrow. Make sure your friends know about the show. If you like what you're hearing. So we thank you guys for tuning in. Cleveland, thank you for being a part of the show. Shout out to all you guys, and then we'll do it again. As always, fan, thank you for making our voice your choice.